Foot and ankle surgeon James Clough from Polson told me to try his LuxStep insole. I was skeptical. The LuxStep insole was specifically developed to treat foot and heel pain by Dr. Clough, and I'm telling you, the difference has been nothing short of miraculous. It has alleviated pain and improved my balance. Go to Cluffy.com, CLUFFY.com, and get a LuxStep insole now. The LuxStep insert from Dr. Clough at Cluffy.com.
La Grata Bella is a hidden gem of Missoula. The intimate venue below historic Warden's Market is a mysteriously cozy place to try exclusive wines from around the globe. Every Thursday, join some of Missoula's finest wine experts from 5 to 8 p.m. for a tasting featuring new, fresh, and interesting wines from around the globe. Sniff, swirl, and sip excellent wines. Learn about what makes them exceptional and purchase bottles at a discount price. And be sure to sign up for the weekly wine email list. Thursday tastings at La Grata Bella, a wine tasting experience like no other. Brought to you by Warden's Market.
Help protect our community from prescription drug misuse, abuse, and overdose on National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day. This Saturday, you can turn in your unused or expired medications at the Grizz game. Just look for the DEA booth at the parking lot near the entrance of the stadium. If you can't make it to the game, go to MissoulaCounty.us for a list of Dropbox locations in Missoula. This event is brought to you by Curry Health Center, Safe Kids Missoula at Foundation for Community Health, and the Prescription Drug Task Force, a coalition of Missoula City County Health Department.
It's time for the second annual Flippin' Fun Glow Run, a fundraiser for the Ravalli County Gymnastics Booster Club. Don your neon and lace up those running shoes for a glowing 5K and Kids Mile Fun Run at the Corvallis High School on Friday, November 1st. The run starts at dusk and the course is lit with glow sticks. Competitors are given glow sticks to wear. There'll be prizes to win, and all proceeds support gymnasts' competition fees. Sign up at eventbrite.com before or on October 23rd to get an event t-shirt.
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula. It's 4 o'clock. Welcome to Montana's only statewide sports talk show. Broadcast on 102.9 ESPN Radio for Western Montana and across the state on SWX Television.
I like football!
Now, the 2017 Radio Sports Broadcaster of the Year on the show with back-to-back Montana Broadcaster Association awards for sports coverage and award-winning sports journalism. Here is Ryan Tutel and Colter Nuanez.
Hello, Montana. It is a full weekend of Grizz and Cat football, Seahawk football, NFL football, and the World Series. What an unbelievable Friday to be with you. Hope you are having an outstanding day wherever you are, whatever you're up to. Thanks for being with us on your radios and across the state on SWX Montana Television. Outstanding to be with you. We are broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy, online at kurtzpolaris.com. You can also find us on the World Wide Web, 1029ESPN.com. There you can listen live all the time via the stream. The stream is available thanks to Opportunity Bank, your local bank, your opportunity. If you want to call us, feel free. 329-1899, the phone number, 329-1899, that phone number. All guests join us via the Rangich Brothers RV phone line. Let's take a look at what we got in the show today. Grizz Eastern Washington tomorrow, a huge game. It's always a huge game when it's Eastern Washington and Montana, a rivalry game that is renewed tomorrow at Washington Grizzly Stadium, noon kickoff there. We will hear from Aaron Best here shortly, the head coach of the Eastern Washington Eagles in his third year. Do an interview with him in just a moment. We will certainly talk about Montana State at North Dakota as well, which is a major game for, well, everybody involved because that's the time of year it is. We also, we're going to have our Mattress Firm Student of the Week this week. We look forward to that, as well as our friend Carolyn, chick who does not know sports, going to tell us about sports here in this first hour. Always fun with her. At the top of the hour, as we do, 12 for the 12s. 12 minutes for the Seahawk fans out there. Mike Dugar covers the Seahawks for The Athletic. The Seattle Seahawks looking for a bounce back after a loss to Baltimore in CenturyLink. They travel across the country to Atlanta to take on the hapless Atlanta Falcons at the moment. Mike Dugar going to talk to us about that. We will also pick some NFL games against the spread and get you set for the weekend on ESPN Radio. Obviously, Game 3, Game Game 4, potentially Game 5 of the World Series, all from the nation's capital. So there you go. There's the look at what we got in the show today, brought to us by MissoulaGutterCleaning.com. The most fun, most insured company to do the job you don't want to do, MissoulaGutterCleaning.com. Every Friday about this time, we like to take a little break, take a little moment, smell the roses, think about how great and wonderful the universe is. Not everybody agrees with me on that. I don't care. I'm stating it, okay? I'm making this platitude. The universe is wonderful, and not for the least of which, because of the Florence Coffee Company, taking care of us every Friday with our Florence Coffee Company coffee break.
Stand up.
Stand up.
Open that shade and show people the Florence Coffee Company logo while you're doing it.
Okay.
I'm just trying to help you through your read while also making you do a self-serving action for myself.
You just want to see.
I got some green tea.
You just wanted to see the.
I just want to see Mount Sentinel.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be in about 2 weeks. This is going to be dark when we're doing this show.
Or maybe in about 6 hours when evidently the Arctic front moves in and we are buried.
Is that
tomorrow.
happening?
I don't know.
It's because my brother came here to shoot the game.
Exactly. He got one nice day last week, and now this week he's buried again. In any case, cheers to you. It's a Friday. You can stay up late. You can sleep in. Get yourself some coffee. Go to the Florence Coffee Company. There's kiosks everywhere. You're almost certainly close to one right now. You pull in. I got myself an iced Americano. What are you nursing over there, Coulter?
Little green tea. Yum. Ice green tea.
I actually knew the answer to that. I only asked it so you would fill some time so I could take a sip.
Well, I already understand.
Yeah, very good. Enjoying this very much. So, thanks to the Florence Coffee Company. Enjoy them right now. Coulter, we're going to be joined here in about 5 minutes or so by Aaron Best, the head coach of the Eastern Washington Eagles. But this game is a massive one. By the way, let me jump ahead of everything. We will be doing day 5 of text the word for the Keg and Kegerator giveaway. A very nice giveaway, if I might say, from the Great Burn Brewery and from Fred's Appliance. So stick around for that. We'll give you the word of the day today to text in. And want to remind everybody, we will be on the air tomorrow, 10:30 a.m. with the ESPN College Game Day pregame show, live from the tailgate, adjacent to the walking bridge across from the Eastgate Shopping Center. Come say hi, have a drink, grab some pizza, grab some swag, get a little mini football, grab a free soft drink, all kinds of stuff down there. So come hang out with us tomorrow. We'll be on the air at 10:30. We'll be down there well before that. A huge game and a noon kickoff tomorrow. The way it should be.
The way it should be.
Noon. Okay. Montana, Eastern Washington, Coulter. A major game, obviously, for both teams. When you get into the back third of the season and the back half of Big Sky Conference play, especially when, as you well put it, a lot of games of reckoning happening this weekend and every weekend here on out. A couple of top 25 games within the Big Sky Conference, notably Weber State and UC Davis. But for both the Grizz and the Cats, who are both 5-2, but both coming off a spanking at the hands of Sacramento State. You want to get that taste out your mouth, and you also just want to get back on the winning track, prove that was an anomaly or whatever it was, deal with the fact that everybody kind of has a loss or whatever. Also for Montana, I think there's a little added incentive in so far as you're playing a rival, and I think effectively you can put this rival away. You can end the season of the Eastern Washington Eagles, for all intents and purposes, when you talk about postseason, tomorrow at Washington Grizzly Stadium if you come away with the win. The Eagles are 3-4. They're 2-1 in Big Sky Conference play, but they would be 3-5 with 2 losses in conference play and an additional loss to Idaho, and they're already out of the top 25. I think they would have a long shot, especially with the remainder of their schedule in terms of who they play, which is sort of an average strength of schedule from here on out for the Eagles.
Well, no, it's actually a easy strength of schedule because they don't play Montana State, they don't play Weber State, they don't play UC Davis.
Yeah, they play.
They already played Sac State, and they're playing the Grizz this weekend, so they don't actually have a quote-unquote tough game left.
They play NAU, they play Idaho State, they play
Portland State because that's the rivalry game. But actually, Portland State has been so competitive in that game. Even when Portland State's been bad, they've been really competitive.
That's what I'm saying. But I mean, I guess they already played Northern Colorado, but they're not playing, Southern Utah in that stretch. So for what it's worth, but yeah, right. They don't play any. This is the last ranked opponent that Eastern Washington is going to face, and so this is a huge game for them because if they get it, they're going to be expected, you would think, to be the favored in the remaining games that they have to play.
Well, that's the ironic part about this is with Eastern Washington, if they win on Saturday, they, like you said, they will be favored, but they actually could honestly win the conference title with having not even close to the most impressive conference resume.
Sure.
There's a real chance because Weber State and Montana still have to play. Weber State plays UC Davis this week. Montana State still have to play. Montana State and UC Davis still have to play. Sac State and UC Davis still have to play. Sac State and Weber State still have to play. There's a very good chance that every single one of those teams I just named have 2 or 3 conference losses. If Eastern was to win on Saturday, they might somehow backdoor their way to the conference title, sure. Even though I think that there's no question at this point, even if they do surge down the stretch, they are not one of the 3 best teams in the league.
Right.
They could certainly be one of the 4 or 5 or not. It could go either way. We will totally see, starting with Saturday here in Missoula.
So I talked about this as a matter of incentive for Montana, but obviously it's a huge matter of incentive for Eastern Washington as well. I mean, they come into this thing as you said yesterday, a bit of a cornered animal when you sit here and got to play Montana and you already have a losing record. And I mean, a little bit of pride. I mean, this is defending national runner-up. I mean, this is obviously a program that has been outstanding for years. And nationally elite even, and to be losing games to Idaho, to be 3-4 7 weeks into a season, this is not what Eastern Washington is accustomed to being. And by the way, Aaron Best, nobody knows this better than him because he's been at Eastern Washington forever. 23 years, both as a player and then GA assistant coach all the way up now to head coach in his 3rd year there. So that is. Without doubt, a point of consternation, and not something that this team is accustomed to being.
Like I said yesterday, they've gone through cycles where they've had years. You can't call them necessarily a down year, but the year after they won the national championship, they went 6-5, decimated by injuries. Bo Levi Mitchell still won the Walter Payton Award, but it was not the year you were accustomed to having. The next year, they went with a dual quarterback system with Vernon Adams and Kyle Padron, and they got hot late and surged all the way to the semifinals, went to the semis again, I think 3 out of the next 4 seasons, and then 2015, they had a weird year where even though Jordan West was ripping it up and was really high in a lot of statistical categories, they weren't satisfied with his progress at quarterback, so they started doing a dual quarterback system with Riley Hennessy and then a tri-quarterback system, which then marked the debut of Gage Gubrud. And that happened in Missoula, and that Eastern Washington team got whipped by the Grizz, 57-14. I think Montana had 8 or 9 sacks. Tyrone Holmes running rampant. I mean, Gage Gubrud told us on this show last year, he said, I didn't know if I wanted to play quarterback in the Big Sky if all the DNs were going to be like Tyrone Holmes.
Yeah.
But then the next year, the Eastern has a magical year that should have probably culminated in a national championship game appearance, but Cooper Kupp, Samson Ebukam, and that group of guys lost in the semis. But they've had ebbs and flows, but it's never been bottomed out. Even when they have missed the playoffs like they did in 2011, 2015, and 2017, still 6-5 or 7-4 seasons. So still good marks. But you're right, it's definitely sort of uncharted territory for Eastern Washington. But again, they've already played Jacksonville State. They've already played rival Idaho. Those games are in their rear view. And they've already played the surprise team in the league, Sac State. If they can get past this game, they are still in the mix for the conference title.
All right, well, we got them now, so let's do it. We go now to the Rankage Brothers RV phone line, and we welcome in the head coach of the Eastern Washington Eagles football team, Aaron Best. Coach Best, thanks so much for being with us. How are you?
Good, thank you. Thank you, fellas, for letting me be a part of this.
Well, we're certainly happy to have you in here anytime. And, Coach, it's been a season. It's been kind of an interesting one, some ups, some downs, but you're 2-1 in conference, 3-4 overall, and really a pivotal game, it seems to me, for you guys in the arc of your season on Saturday at Washington Grizzly Stadium. Coming off a bye, how you feeling heading into this game, and how big is this game to you in this kind of midpoint of the Big Sky Conference season?
Well, I think obviously you touched on it already that the season hasn't gone the way it was envisioned, and it rarely does for anybody out there. It's how you get off the floor and attack the next one, and I think we've done that to a certain degree. We just haven't played consistent football in all 3 phases for 4 quarters. We've done it for spurts in 2 and 3, but any team that expects to be a good team after the regular season ends gets better as the season progresses. And so when you get in the meat of your Big Sky season. All of a sudden, we're in week 4 of it. Really, the game 12, the game 13, the game 14, all those things are based off of what you did in league. And so I know non-league matters, but it doesn't count as much. It's more of kind of window dressing, if you will. And so you've got to hold serve in your conference. You got to win games on the road and protect your home turf when given those 4 opportunities. And so what a better way to do it against a very good Montana team coming off a loss in Sacramento State, which is going to fire them up that much more. So we're 2-1 as we speak, and we just got to we got to go, again, coach speak, one at a time on the road against a great opponent who is, again, more angered now after last week's piece against a good Sac State team. So we got a lot of challenges ahead of us, but I think we're up to the task.
Coach, with this unbalanced schedule, sometimes you might miss a team, and last year you guys didn't play Montana, which is a weird deal considering that it's such close schools. And I know talking to your guys in the past, I remember Sam Zanebicom always talking about this is a rivalry game for Eastern and Montana. They say the same thing. It's a rivalry game for Montana. So for you as a head coach now going against Montana in Washington Grizzly Stadium, what do you expect this to be like? And are you guys approaching this like a rivalry game?
Well, I think there's a lot of people that I've talked to over the years. They say Eastern Montana is just different. They don't necessarily tab it as a rivalry game. It's just different. Most of the time, the rivalries are built in. This is kind of not one that's built in, so maybe that's why they deem it as different. But I know they've been special games. I know there's been a lot of memories in those games, whether they be at Joe Albee or Wagris Stadium or in Cheney on the grass or on the red turf. I think there's been a lot, and you've kind of they all count the same, Coulter, but they all mean a little bit more when you have those different games or those, in some ways, rivalry games. You tend to forget the non-different game moments more than the different game moments of the rivalry game moments, because those are the games you play for the ones that are both ranked teams, the one that are loud fans, the ones that call you names that you've never heard before. Those are the ones you remember and are etched in your mind for the rest of your playing career and personal career. So those make it a little bit more fun on top of being different.
Coach, when you were here 2 years ago, obviously the first half didn't go well, and then the second half went as good as it could possibly go, and you ripped Montana in the second half. I think 42 points in that second half under the lights. But when you come into an environment like Washington Grizzly Stadium, do you prep your guys about that part of it, and more than, in addition to just, quote-unquote, the football side of things, but what they're going to come in here and play in for those, guys who haven't done that yet?
Yeah, you touch on some coaches stay away from doing anything, don't want to put anything in people's heads, no matter what it is. We talk about the weather, no matter who we're playing or where we're playing. We talk about kind of the backdrop. We kind of talk about the travel, how long it's going to be, is it plane or bus. We talk about all that stuff because I think everybody wants to know, and instead of rumors starting, let's just have it out now. Let's just talk about it now, because it's all going to be talked about in the locker room. Guys look forward to this. About a third of our team has played in this stadium, so I had a show of hands a couple of days ago at the team meeting, and those guys that haven't, lean on these guys that have. It's similar to the FBS games you play early in the season, where you're jazzed up, you're ready to go. Fans are loud, but there's not as much behind the loudness. This is more of a dislike by the fans, which is just different than going to a road game in Montlake or in Pullman or in Eugene. So there's more to the story, and so other than the music. As far as the crowd noise in practice, there's not a ton of things that we do differently, because, again, we're a creature of habit. If all of a sudden we change a lot of things, then there's going to be a lot of questions that need to be answered by the 18 to 23-year-olds. So we're going to go about our business, turn up the music a little louder, communicate a little bit more, and have to adjust on the fly certain things. But outside of that, just rely on the guys that have been there, and that, like I said, the first 5 to 7 minutes are kind of the moments where you can kind of get over the build-up of the game and start playing the game you love the most and came here to play at the level you need to play it at.
Aaron Best joining us. He's the head coach of the Eastern Washington football team, third-year head coach there. Play Montana, noon at Washington Grizzly Stadium, kickoff this Saturday.
Coach, last year watching your guys' run all the way to the national championship game, a lot of fun and very impressive, and we sort of saw Eric Berrier come of age down the stretch during that run. But in the offseason, new coordinators on both sides of the ball. So what do you think is different just about the way you guys operate with Coach Shoemaker, Coach Enna, and what do you like about the things you guys have been able to do on both sides of the ball thus far this season?
Well, I think anytime there's change, anytime there's a voice that's different in a room that's run by a coach or a parent or whatever the situation may be, I think it's different. I don't think it's apprehension, but you want to know what the next coach is going to bring to the table. Even though Coach Enna was here before, he hasn't sat on that saddle before here at Eastern. So those guys are willing to be coached. They're wanting to be coached, but they're going to look into, okay, what kind of things are we going to do the same? What kind of things are we going to do different? And systematically, offensively, no matter who comes in from outside or inside, we've been who we are for 20 years. It's kind of, Tim Rosenbach, ironically enough, he's in Missoula now, but some of what he brought to the table 20 years ago when I was a student assistant for him. There's Bo Baldwin, obviously, fingerprints all over this thing. Todd Sturdy, who was a coordinator here for 2 years under Paul Wolf, and then Troy Taylor, Bodie Reeder, and now Coach Shoemaker. And 75% of that is what those guys, the conglomeration of the coaches before, and we want you to add to it, but if it's not broke, I was once told, don't fix it, just enhance it, right? And so it's been special on offense to have a run that we've had for so long, but I think it's different. I think different voices do different things, different feels for the game, and we're still 7 games in, trying to kind of feel ourselves out, players included, coaches included, as far as what direction we're going to go, what identity we're going to have this last 5 games of the Big Sky season to see how this all unfolds. And so it's not ideal that you're changing like a hockey line change. You don't want a line change every year, every other year. That's tough on anybody, but it's given the profession, that's the way it is, and we've got to be able to adjust on the fly. As my old boss once said, great ones adjust, and we consider ourselves very good adjustment people.
Coach Bobby Hauck probably did not go out on a very small limb when he said Eric Berrier is the most athletic quarterback in the Big Sky Conference. But when you have a guy like that who's so good with his legs, also can throw the ball as well, it takes a lot, it seems to me, to get him in the positions to do all of the things that he does well and do them at the right times. What's it like to have a weapon like that, but then also to game plan for the things that he can do and even in the improvisation that he's capable of?
Well, you think you can do it all as a coach, right? To put it all in because you feel like physically he can do it all, and he probably can. But what are the best things that allow us the most success as a team, and then what are the best things we can employ against the team we're going to face, and hopefully those things mesh pretty well. Physically, there's nothing that Eric can't do. But we also know when he's out and about, whether it's on a quarterback run or a quarterback scramble or a situation where he's in the pocket, man, he's getting rushed by defenders. They're not going to tackle him lightly. There's a reason why guys tackle him just a little bit harder, a little bit meaner, grit their teeth a little bit longer. That's what we've had for 20 years here. My job as an O-line coach was to keep the quarterbacks upright, healthy, happy, and effective, and that's what we're going to continue to do here. Part of that is not just protection, but also running the ball and delivering screens when necessary. But the moment's never too big for Eric. He's kind of he's legitimately a steady Eddie guy, up 80 or down 80. He's kind of got the same facial expressions, but he is a competitor, and it's not as quiet as he is. He's got a heavy furnace inside of his body, much like any quarterback should have that wants to be QB1 at any school and or any team, and he's got that, even though he may not show that physically. But he's a special player and even more of a special person, and sometimes improvisation is okay. So sometimes scaling back the game plan is the best thing because you know he's going to improvise at some point within the game plan.
First matchup head coach-wise for you and Bobby Hauck. So what do you expect out of a Coach Hauck-led Grizz team this weekend?
No, I think he'll put together a blue-collar bunch, a a bunch that's physical, that's fearless, but don't think that he doesn't have any tricks up his sleeve. He'll have something, whether it's offensively, defensively, or in the special teams arena. They'll have something for us to kind of maybe get them going or get them out of a rut at some point, as most savvy coaches do. But I think he's done a phenomenal job. I've known Coach Hauck for quite some time, respected his work from afar as an assistant, and when he was a head coach, and even from afar as an assistant when he's an assistant coach at San Diego State. And I think he's got that team beating to a more physical drum than they've been when he wasn't there.
We get you out of here on this, Coach. What do you see out of the Grizz defense, and how do you hope your offense is able to attack that defense on Saturday?
No, they want to keep you guessing. They try to create chaos. Sometimes you look at it, it's less chaotic than it actually looks. Sometimes it's more chaotic than it actually looks, and it's much like a North Dakota defense. There's some legitimate guys, physically and talent-wise, that fit their system, and then there's some guys that just make more chaos and do more things with the ability within the system to gap and come from different spots. So Dante Olson's obviously a tackling machine. They obviously have experienced safeties. They have a ton of experience on defense, and not watching and preparing them for a game last year, from what I've gathered visually and what I've talked to coach-wise in the last year and a half with coaches across the league, that they're more familiar, obviously, in year two with their system, as someone should be, and they're less predictable this year than as the seasons wore on. So they'll try to cause chaos. They'll continue to bring 4 and 5 and 6 each and every play. They're not a sit-back defense. They're going to try to get the ball out of Eric's hands. We'll see what kind of plan they have for us, and in lieu of that, we'll have to make adjustments on the fly.
Well, Coach, it's always a party when Eastern Washington comes to town, so we're looking forward to it on Saturday. Wish you the best, and we're really looking forward to the game. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thanks so much for being with us.
Should be good. Thanks, guys.
You bet. Thank you, Coach. Aaron Best joining us to tell Nuanez. And Eric Barrier, by the way, for reference, boys and girls, leading the Big Sky Conference in total yards, more than Kevin Thompson, more than Dalton Sneed, 350 total yards responsible for per game so far this season. By the way, Coulter, just a little confirmation. It's evidently 70 degrees, high 60s, 70 degrees right now in Missoula. A little breezy. Really? Yeah, it's warm, really warm. Kickoff tomorrow, high teens of winds, gusts up to 25 miles an hour, 36 degrees, snow. Noon tomorrow. Okay? 20 hours from right now.
It's been a long time since you could say this, but that actually favors Eastern Washington.
Why?
Because Eastern Washington could run the ball with authority. Eastern already ran the ball for a win in bad weather conditions against North Dakota. Eric Barrier only completed 6 passes for less than 100 yards in that game. Eastern Washington ran for almost 300 yards. We've told the story, but it's an undertold part of the story. When Aaron Best took over, he wanted to put a stamp on it because he saw, Eastern Washington had the most prolific passing offense in college football with the exception of Washington State over the last 10 years. There's no question about it. So many good quarterbacks, so many good receivers, and they saw their playoff dreams, their national championship hopes and dreams go up in flames.
Evaporate in the snow.
Yes. In Cheney. They haven't played a road playoff game since 2009. They lost in the semifinals on their home turf 5 times.
Incredible.
To Sam Houston State, Illinois State, Youngstown State, teams that run the ball. And so Aaron Best said, we are going to run the ball. And last year, Eastern Washington was top 10 in the country, rushing yards per game, second in the league, behind only Cal Poly, ahead of Montana State. Think of that. 275 yards per game last year for Eastern Washington on the ground. And it was part of the factor that helped them get all the way to the national championship game. And so, and they still have that. Antoine Custer is a 2-time second-team All-Big Sky running back while sharing carries his whole career. Now he's a feature back. He's going to be a 1,000-yard guy this year. They have multiple multi-year starters on the offensive line. That's one of the position groups that was not hit hard by graduation. They returned 4 starters up front, and that's always been an incredibly solid group as well. So Montana, as we saw, especially against teams with substantial defensive lines like Sac State, still struggling to run the ball in between the tackles. And we'll see what the health status of the Grizz offensive line is. Angel Villanueva did not play last week. He did not make the trip. Cordell Pilon's got his first start at left guard. Dylan Cook and Colton Kynes were kind of a revolving door because neither one of them could really handle George Obina, but neither could Mitch Brott the week before that. Mitch Brott's probably an NFL guy, so Obina wreaking havoc on the league, no doubt. But it'll be interesting to watch if the conditions really do affect either team because Eric Berry is probably a better runner than Cam Humphrey. Antoine Custer is a better running back than anybody the Grizz got, although Marcus Knight has been a very pleasant surprise for the Grizz. And Eastern's offensive line is just better. So although Eastern has traditionally been such a pass-heavy team, that's actually the one part of their team I think that they're satisfied with right now is their ability to run the football so far this year.
Couple of things on the rush game. Montana is 7th rushing the football in the Big Sky Conference. They're averaging 163 yards a game. Eastern Washington is 5th, 171 yards a game. So very similar, but Montana, a significant part of their running offense is Dalton Sneed, who's very likely not going to play tomorrow. And that is, I think you feel pretty good about Cam Humphrey throwing the football. I don't know what you think about Cam Humphrey in the +1 run game or in just the scramble game. I just don't know. I'm not saying he can't do it or whatever. Well, I'll say this, though. It seems almost unquestionable. It won't be to the level that Dalton Sneed brings.
Well, no, Dalton Sneed's one of the best athletes in the league.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. The defense, though, the rush defense, worth noting, Montana is 4th in rushing defense, allowing just 129 yards a game. Eastern Washington, also okay, 6th, 149 yards. So they're allowing 20 more yards per game for whatever that's
worth. And as I always like to do, though, too, you got to throw some of the games out of the sample size as well because Eastern Washington did play Washington, and they also played a D2. So if you look at just their FCS games, Eastern Washington rushing for 215 yards per game. And then if you look at Montana's just FCS opponents, just Big Sky opponents, they're rushing for 200 yards per game. The Grizz giving up 138 on the ground in Big Sky Conference play. Eastern Washington giving up 139 on the ground in Big Sky Conference play. So identical in terms of rush statistical defenses. To me, this comes down to so much more about the personnel than anything else. Aaron Best, I thought his analysis of Montana's defense was actually really, really good. We've heard about all the exotic nature and all that, but what he said, the chaos, but also the way that they use chaos to mask some of their personnel deficiencies and also put Montana's defense has some pretty solid guys and a couple elite guys. And the whole point of the defense is to put the elite guys in the position to make the play so often. And I think that's why you see Dante Olson and Robbie Hauk have the most combined tackles of any two teammates of any pair in the entire country. There's a reason for that. Montana wants that. That's what the scheme dictates to, is to have your two best tacklers make all the tackles. And a lot of the other guys make a mess so those guys can.
Right.
And so I thought that was a good analysis by Aaron Best. But I think that somebody's going to have to – running the ball is going to be a key tomorrow, certainly. If the Grizz can do it better than they did a week ago against Sac State, it could definitely be to their advantage. And if Eastern Washington can do it, Montana's going to have to step up because they are really good at running the ball.
Who scored the most touchdowns in the Big Sky Conference this year?
On the ground?
Individual.
Marcus Knight, 9.
10.
He's got 10, yeah.
10 for Marcus Knight and 8 for for Joe Logan, right? Is that who I got?
Yeah, Joe Logan from Northern Arizona.
NAU, and Chris Jackson as well from Weber State. But nobody more than Marcus Knight, although he had 4 in one game and 2 or 3 in another, so he did load it up on a couple. Anyway, it will be something certainly to track, especially if weather looks like it's going to get it's going to play a factor tomorrow in some respect. It is Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Boys and girls, we're giving away a keg and a kegerator, right? We're going to do the word of the day, but that ain't all we're giving away. No. Not today. Coulter, we got Alpine Touch for the people. Woo. My goodness gracious. I mean, we're talking about going out. Nobody cares. If it's 100 degrees, if it's 100 below, they're grilling up everything at the tailgates tomorrow, Washington Grizzly Stadium. What do we got for them?
Make it spicy. That'll warm you up.
There you go.
This big mountain flavors. You can pick any of the 4 seasonings you want to throw in this thing. This one, specifically, for those listening on the radio, I'll explain it to you. We got all-purpose seasoning, pepper blend, hickory smoked, and chili sublime. You can also get Prairie Fire rub. There's all sorts of good stuff. The pepper blend is really good, too. It got a little spice in it. It's pretty good. But if you're tailgating tomorrow, whether you want to put something in your guacamole, something on your steak, wherever you want, this is what you need to get. Got a little handle for you. It's mobile. You can take it to your friend's tailgate.
Give us a call, 329-1899, 329-1899 right now. We will send this to your door, an Alpine Touch gift bag. You can give them the hat, too. Throw the hat in there as well.
Alpine Touch hat, Alpine Touch 4 Big Mountain Flavors gift pack. Give us a call right now. Give David your phone number and address. We'll send this to your door. If you don't win, you can still get this. Retail locations around the state or at alpinetouch.com. Make sure to use that promo code ESPN10. 10% off any online order at alpinetouch.com. Alpine Touch, Montana Special Spice.
Riley Erickson. She is a volleyball player and softball player at Great Falls Central Catholic. She's our Mattress Firm Student of the Week. She joins us next.
Garden City Paint and Glass in Missoula is like your paint doctor. They take the pain out of painting. Don't trust your home to anything less than professional PPG paints from Garden City Paint and Glass. Go to visualizecolors.com. Scan in your room photo to see what color combinations will look best before painting. That's visualizecolors.com. Featuring professional PPG paints. Garden City Paint and Glass in Missoula, across from the Southside McDonald's at 3217 Brooks.
We combine quality ingredients with home-style recipes to create the Montana Club's Fall Comfort Food Menu. Savor our tender boneless beef short rib or caramelized brandy apple pork shank. Dig into our classic savory chicken pot pie or fall for our zesty skillet lasagna. Top things off with our creamy pumpkin skillet a la mode. Scratch-made comfort food that's as real as it gets. Served 11:30 to close at the Montana Club on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
If you're looking for a charming neighborhood hideaway, come into Katie O'Keefe's. Located in the corner of the Stevens Center, Katie's has an inviting atmosphere with ample parking in a location that's easy to get to and hard not to love. With drink specials every night of the week, including Tequila Tuesdays and Whiskey Wednesdays, offering $3 premium cocktails. Katie O'Keefe's is the welcoming, warm hangout you've been looking for. Come in to Katie O'Keefe's, where the drinks are always cold and the people are always friendly.
Hey, it's Coulter, and I'm here with Catherine from The Advocates. If you've been in a car accident or need help dealing with the insurance companies, you should give The Advocates a call. They can tell you if you have a case right over the phone.
That's right. It doesn't cost anything to call, and we'd be happy to talk to you and assess your situation. You don't want to have to deal with contacting the insurance companies and setting up a claim. We can do that for you. We take the hassle out of the process, so you can just focus on getting better.
There you go, folks. If you've been injured in an accident, give The Advocates a call. 406-640-4444 or online at montanaadvocates.com. You deserve The Advocates.
It's time for the second annual Flippin' Fun Glow Run, a fundraiser for the Ravalli County Gymnastics Booster Club. Don your neon and lace up those running shoes for a glowing 5K and Kids Mile Fun Run at the Corvallis High School on Friday, November 1st. The run starts at dusk and the course is lit with glow sticks. Competitors are given glow sticks to wear. There'll be prizes to win, and all proceeds support gymnasts' competition fees. Sign up at eventbrite.com before or on October 23rd to get an event t-shirt.
Are you interested in putting solar panels on your roof? Do you want the latest on Montana's renewable energy policies? The Montana Renewable Energy Association is a leading voice for renewable energy, education, and advocacy in Montana. From community-based clean energy events to advocating at the Montana legislature, they work to ensure Montana's future is powered by the sun, wind, and earth. Find out more about MREA and join as a member by visiting montanarenewables.org or calling 406-214-9405.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Good afternoon, Ryan Tutel, Colton Nuanez, 1029 ESPN Sports Center. We are happy to bring you some sports news. After a year off, the Grizzlies renew their rivalry with Eastern Washington tomorrow. Number 10 Montana hosts the Eagles, looking to bounce back from a lopsided loss at Sacramento State last week. Eastern's lost in similar fashion at Sac earlier this month. The Grizzlies and Eagles are both 2-1 in Big Sky Conference play, while Montana is 5-2 overall, while Eastern Washington has already lost 4 games in 7 outings. Eastern is led by All-American candidate quarterback Eric Barrier. Montana's senior All-American candidate Dalton Snead is doubtful, meaning Cam Humphrey will make his first start under center for the Grizz if Snead can't go.
Montana State hits the road to Grand Forks, North Dakota for the final Big Sky game between MSU and the University of North Dakota. Next season, UND officially joins the Missouri Valley Football Conference. Fighting Hawks are 3-0 at the Alerus Center this season, a stretch that includes wins over number 24 Sam Houston State and number 12 UC Davis.
Key games tonight in high school AA action across the state. Missoula Hellgate looks to bolster its playoff resume against the number 1 team in Montana. The Knights are at Butte High. Missoula Sentinel hosts Kalispell Glacier as the Spartans, the number 3 team in Class A, try to keep pace with Butte and Billings West. Big Sky has the week off. Helena and Great Falls, crosstown rivalry.
This ESPN Missoula Sports Center is brought to you by Aspen Sound.
That might have been a little confusing. Helena and Great Falls are not the crosstown rivals. The cities of Helena and Great Falls, respectively, have crosstown games between Great Falls High, CMR, Helena High, Helena Capital. Clear?
Guy who writes these things confusing.
No, it was actually not on you at all. I just wanted to make sure that people didn't think that I had Helena playing Great Falls as a crosstown rivalry game. Just so people know.
I have so many questions about life, but one of the ones I want to know is what happened to football in Great Falls and Helena? Like Capital's pretty good this year, and Helena High and Capital both pretty good. You know, they're between 4th and 6th in Class AA, solid. CMR and Great Falls are not. They're both in the bottom third of Class AA. That was just unthinkable 15 years ago. I mean, CMR was in the playoffs. The AA playoffs now is going to have all 15 teams in the playoffs this year. There used to only be 4 teams. When I was first in high school, when you were in high school the whole time, and when I was first in high school, there was only 4 teams that made the Class AA playoffs. It only expanded to 8 when I was a sophomore, and I remember Big Sky made it that year. We were the 8th seed, and I was a sophomore, and I got to go with the varsity to Helena Capital and get destroyed by Kyle Sampson and the eventual state champions. But even then it was 8 teams. But I mean, you would never imagine there would ever be a year, even when it was only 4 teams, that CMR wouldn't be in the Final Four every year. And it's just fascinating. I don't know if there is an answer. Maybe it's just the cycles of sports and the cycles of life. But it's crazy because it wasn't just like one group of kids or one generation of kids. I mean, it was from Jack Johnson coached there for almost 40 years, and he was in the Final Four seriously 30-plus times and won 13 state championships.
Well, sometimes when the coach moves on, and also, the population of Great Falls is kind of going south a little bit over the course of time.
Yeah. It's just so fast.
It is cyclical a little bit, but you're right.
But also, there hasn't been as many players that have come out of there either,
Yeah.
It's just so fascinating that it's shifted. Like Kalispell has had all sorts of D1 players. Glacier has been a factory. I mean, there's 2, 3, 4 kids from Glacier every year that go to the Cats or the Grizz.
Yeah.
And it just hasn't been.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I don't even know if there's a Helena High kid that's playing for either of these 2 schools. It's just a fascinating analysis, and maybe it is cyclical, maybe not. We'll see.
Well, let's rock and roll, because we got to get to Riley Erickson. She's our Mattress Firm Student of the Week. It's Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy, online at kurtzpolaris.com. Well, it's time now to talk with our Mattress Firm Student of the Week, a senior from Great Falls Central Catholic High School, Riley Erickson. She plays volleyball there at Great Falls Central Catholic. Hi, Riley. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing great. Appreciate you asking. That's nice of you. Riley, you are a senior, as I mentioned there, playing volleyball at Great Falls Central Catholic. How long have you been playing volleyball?
I've been playing it since middle school.
And what got you into the sport? Is it just something you picked up along the way? Do you have siblings that did it, or what was it about volleyball that you liked?
I just picked up along the way. My friends were playing it, and it seemed like a fun environment to be in.
Do you have other sports that you like to do?
I play softball.
Nice. What position do you play?
Third base.
Third base? Do you bowl? Yeah. Are you a bowler, Riley? I love to bowl.
I'm not that good at it.
Well, who cares? Nobody's good at it, We're just out there trying to throw the thing down the lane, so that's fine. I'm glad to know. 3-sport athlete from Great Falls Central Catholic, Riley Erickson with us. Riley, you're a senior. What are you planning to do? Do you have plans beyond the end of this year? Anything next year for you?
I'm thinking about doing nursing. I'm not really sure where yet, but I'm thinking Carroll or UMary.
Nice. Oh, that's good. I got a bunch of nurses in my family. My mom, my sister. It's a great profession. Go do it, okay?
Yeah.
Riley, do you like volleyball or softball better?
I really enjoy both, but
no, you cannot say that. You got to pick. Which coach do you like more, Riley? Who's the better teammates? Those are the things we want to know. Throw everybody else under the bus.
I don't know. I really enjoy softball a lot.
There you go. I like it. Hey, Riley, we know that we're having some fun with you, but we know also that you do a lot of stuff in the community as well, giving back, particularly through your church. Tell us about that, what you're up to.
So my church does this thing called Family Promise, and it gives a place for families who are less fortunate, a place to stay. And there I basically just help bring in beds and set up rooms when they need it.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
What's the most rewarding part about that for you?
I just really like being able to help the people who, have not been given the same enjoyments in life that I have, and it just really makes me feel good to make people have that opportunity.
Riley, I know that your grandma was a big influence in your life. What was she like, and what was it about your guys' relationship that you say, okay, this is something that I want to keep doing, and giving back and paying it forward?
She was so amazing. She really just made everybody else feel like they had a worth and that they had a purpose, and she accepted everyone for who they were and helped everyone in every way that she could, and that was just something that I wanted to carry on.
Well, Riley, that's fantastic. We certainly appreciate you joining us. Enjoy your senior year of volleyball and then softball, the better sport, the more fun sport, according to you, in the spring, and best of luck in nursing and whatever you do after that, okay?
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Riley. Appreciate that. That is our Mattress Firm Student of the Week. If you'd like to nominate a student, child, niece, nephew, grandchild, whatever it might be, somebody you know, go to mattressfirmmt.com. Click on the Montana Students tab, and you can submit right there. And each Mattress Firm Student of the Week will be available to be voted on at the end of the year to become the Student of the Year and receive a $3,000 scholarship from Mattress Firm. So that's pretty cool. We'll take a quick break. On the other side, Carolyn, chick who doesn't know sports. It's what we do on a Friday. Coulter, you got friends, you got family coming around. Your brother was just in town here for the game tomorrow. I know a lot of people coming, traveling all over this time of year. Where do you stay? How about the Wingate by Wyndham? Why? For a whole bunch of reasons.
Beautiful venue out by the airport. Just go check them out. They have a water slide if you got kiddos. That's a great deal. Big pool. Great breakfast, not just continental breakfast, great full breakfast.
That's what I'm talking about.
Every morning. And also remember, if you have any sort of business needs as well, whether you have a meeting for 200 or 200 people, they have ample meeting spaces, some of the best corporate business travel rates and corporate business staying rates around. So if you got people coming to town for the game this weekend, there's still several Grizz home games. The Idaho game still in town. Weber State still in town. So if you got anybody coming to town for Grizz games as well, send them to Wingate by Wyndham. Let the Wingate by Wyndham make you feel at home even when you're not.
Hi there, it's Les Schwab Tires. You know, we've been helping keep folks safe on the road around here since 1952. That's why you can save up to $152 on a set of 4 select light truck and SUV tires during our fall tire sale. So swing by or book an appointment at leschwab.com. Les Schwab Tires, doing the right thing since 1952. Limited time offer while supplies last. Discount depends on tire size and type. Cannot be combined with other offers. Details at leschwab.com.
On Russell, across from the fairgrounds.
Footballs are flying, the elk are bugling, and everyone is talking about pumpkin. Here at Florence Coffee, we take pumpkin serious with our real pumpkin lattes, chais, and frappes. Made with real pumpkin that is sure to delight the senses. Also, try our all-natural pumpkin spice flavoring made from real spices and extracts. So when you get a craving for something pumpkin, be sure to stop by your nearest Florence Coffee.
The best flavor under the big sky, Florence Coffee Company.
Have you been in an accident and have no idea what to do? I'm here with Catherine from the Advocates Injury Attorneys.
Unfortunately, people are injured in accidents every day, and dealing with the insurance company can add even more pain to an already bad situation. That is where hiring the advocates can help. Let us guide you through the process and take on the hassles for you so you can just focus on getting better.
If you've been injured in an accident, give the Advocates a call, 406-640-4444, or online at montanaadvocates.com. The Advocates are on your side.
It's a rite of passage, that first bank account. Explore the great options for your young adult with a visit to Farmer State Bank, online at farmersebank.com, or in person at any of our 9 locations in western Montana. Our checking and savings accounts are designed to fit any lifestyle and budget, with the flexibility, innovations, and security today's consumers demand. Start out right with Farmer State Bank, your Montana bank since 1907. Member FDIC.
There's only one way to really enjoy fall sports, and that's on a full stomach. So whether you're watching the NCAA, MLB, NHL, NFL, NBA, whatever the letters, the Desperado has an A-plus menu to fill your belly while you're cheering on your team. Head to the Desperado for a juicy bacon burger, a steaming plate of cheesy nachos, ice-cold beer, and hands down, the best hot wings in town. If it's a steak you're looking for, well, they've got that too. Whether the game ends in a win or a loss, get your winner Despo dinner at the Desperado Sports Tavern on South Russell, across from the Y.
Tell Us Something is calling for you to pitch your true story on the theme of Tipping Point. 8 storytellers will be selected to share their true personal story from memory on the theme of Tipping Point. And each storyteller is paid a stipend for sharing their story. The live event is happening December 10th with a pitch deadline November 18th. Call 406-203-4683 to pitch your story. Members from our deaf community are welcome to pitch a story online at tellussomething.org/tellastory.
Tutel and Nuanez on 102.9 ESPN Radio for Missoula.
Oh, it's Friday. We got to have a little fun around here, right? Time for Carolyn to come on and show us what's what. It's Tutel and Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris, 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy. Online at KurtzPolaris.com. You can find us on Twitter at Gus Tutel, at 1029 ESPN, and at SkylineSportsMT.com. Well, boys and girls, it is Friday, and you know what that means. Our dear friend Carolyn, chick who doesn't know sports, is here to tell us about sports. Thanks to our friends at the Missoula Winery and Event Center. All right, Carolyn, welcome. How are you?
I am great. How are you?
I'm just fine, thank you.
I mean, we just rocked out to some Tool. I just feel pumped.
You should.
And I'm ready to rock this weekend.
You know, it's so funny to hear people who don't listen to good music talk about good music and then attempt to, like, get into that mode. And, yeah.
I'm going to go punch some stuff.
Yeah, that's right. That's what they want you to do.
Yeah. I'm going to go knock over some trash cans.
What do you got for us today, Carolyn?
Well, it's been a busy week, guys.
You have 2 pages of notes.
Busy week. Michael Jordan was asked if Steph Curry should be in the Hall of Fame. You know what he said?
No.
He said no.
Why?
He said not yet, actually, is what he said.
He said not yet.
The reason he said it is because he's Michael Jordan. He believes that only Michael Jordan should be in the Hall of Fame.
Well, Magic Johnson thinks it's because he'd be fined by the league, and I was kind of wondering what that even means.
Because he's an owner of the Charlotte Hornets. Is he the president of operations or something like that, Coulter?
Yeah, so then it would be colluding. So it's illegal.
He's not allowed to compliment him publicly.
Oh, interesting.
Or
when
else.
Magic Johnson was talking about how LeBron James is the greatest player in the world, Magic Johnson got fined $500,000 because he was a front office executive with the Lakers at the time.
Wow. Okay, well, that makes sense.
All right. Well, glad we could answer that question.
I would like you to know, though, that Steph Curry is such a little gem.
He is a little gem.
And he just took that in stride and said, maybe I'm not ready.
Even though they got blown out by, 35 by the Clippers last night?
How tall is Steph Curry, Carolyn?
Like 5'8"?
Oh, my God.
He's 6'3".
He is?
Yeah.
He looks so little.
Yeah, well, that's because he's playing with giants. It's a sport that's played by giants.
I thought he was my height.
Yeah.
Well, he's little. He's little compared to his contemporaries
Yes,
out
he
on
is.
the. I almost said the field, but it's not the field. The court.
Right.
So my love for Steph Curry continues.
Good.
You're
well,
welcome.
I'm glad that he didn't do anything to compromise, your warm feelings.
He's
for
no
him.
Tom Brady, in my eyes.
No, he is not.
I don't mean that as an.
I know
athlete.
you don't
Okay.
like Tom Brady. I've heard enough screaming during
Okay.
Patriots victories by you.
The XFL.
Okay.
People are dropping out. The draftees are angry.
They're not making enough
They're
money.
not making enough money.
Are they making any money?
Well, a
'Cause
quarterback.
The last league, they didn't even get their checks, right?
Right. The AF.
What
the
was that?
AAF. The AF.
Oh.
You didn't know about that football league, did you, Carol?
No, what's the
Well,
AF?
The AF.
The American Association of Football.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Was it did they have
It was
people
a
like
disaster.
they hate me?
A guy bought it to close it.
Oh, like the producers.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. Like
Thank
the
you.
producers.
Thank you.
No, that's exactly right. That's what
Yeah.
happened to the AF.
Wait, what's the producers?
It's the
The
best
show.
Broadway show ever. It is so funny. But basically, they realized they could make money by
tanking a show. Tried to make the worst show ever, and then everybody loved
and
it.
then it was the best show ever. And
then they lost a bunch of money.
Sounds like everything on ESPN Radio.
oh, that's
That
a
doesn't
low
make any
blow.
sense at all.
Cut.
So we got about 1 minute of content, or 7 minutes and 45 seconds so far. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So apparently, quarterbacks can make nearly $500,000.
Okay.
But the XFL informed agents before its October 15th start date, no, I don't know, sometime in October,
Yes.
that they will receive $2,080 every 2 weeks they are under contract for a max salary of $27,000 a season.
Who is they?
The draftees.
Players.
The players.
Okay, but not the quarterbacks.
The quarterbacks make almost
different
500.
amount of money.
Yes, but a non-quarterback is going to pull in about 27,000. Now there are bonuses.
Mm-hmm.
If you win, you get $2,222.
Bounty.
So basically, a player who plays all 10 games and wins gets $55,000 a season.
And they think it's not enough?
They think it's not enough.
Well,
What do you guys think?
it just depends if anybody's watching it.
It's a very similar pay structure to the Canadian Football League, where quarterbacks are outside of the salary cap, and I think most Canadian football players make about $3,000 a month, so about $36,000 per year. So that's right along the lines with that.
Canadian or American dollars?
Good question.
Probably Canadian dollars would be my
Yeah.
guess. Loonies and toonies.
That's right. They can get lots of Smarties and coffee crisps for that. So that's awesome.
Tim Horton.
The point is that the XFL has way too many non-legitimate characteristics for these guys to complain about anything. There's no way they'll ever make one with Canadian football players.
So the Canadian football players, do they come and then do they do that to go get back into the NFL? Like, wouldn't they just go get a job?
In some cases, they do. I think the Canadian football players actually make a pretty decent salary, all things considered. But also, you got to think too. They're only it's but it's
You're getting
it's
paid by
4 months, 5 months of your life. You know what I mean? So, it's even better than the teachers' gigs.
Yeah, you're right. Those teachers have it so easy.
Teachers are raking it in.
Yeah, they get summers off.
My brother.
Do you think they get benefits?
I don't
Insurance.
know. I would think you would get health insurance. I mean, it would be a pretty tough ask to have somebody do a sport where they could get seriously injured and not be covered when you're making $3,000.
Right. I found this disheartening. I thought they'd at least make $100K a season.
Well, if you'd like to, pitch in. Now, I have
don't
no
think so.
idea what the structure of this is or how they're going to make money. Who's even running this? It's not Vince McMahon again, is it?
I think so.
Yeah,
Is it?
I think so.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Maybe he learned from the first time around and is going to try and do, a little something different. When is this supposed to start? Do we have any idea?
I think January.
They're trying to catch
I
the
think so.
the wave of football
Yeah.
of the playoffs and run that thing forward.
Yeah.
Right after the Super Bowl.
Okay.
February 8th.
Okay.
Wow, look, I knew that, sort of. I mean, I said January, but other than that,
How's it going this week? Is it going pretty good?
it's been a rough week. I'm not going to lie. I've had a hard week.
Right. You finished your Boda box last night. You
I
came in
finished
here
the
with all
Boda.
those notes. What else you got?
The Houston Rockets.
Yes. They play
James
basketball.
Harden and Russ
Westport.
Westport.
Yes.
They got a little fight on the court.
Westport and Harden?
Yeah.
About what?
They're calling it an animated conversation.
An animated conversation.
But it looked like they were kind of fighting.
Did you see it?
I saw it.
Was there a physical altercation?
I saw it this morning as I was doing research that they were like yelling at each other on the court, and
Yeah.
they're saying, "No, we were just having an animated conversation. Two passionate fellas about the game."
Who felt to you like more aggressive? James Harden? More than Westport.
Yeah.
But he's bigger though.
And that beard.
Right. Adds to the
aggressive.
sort of.
Yeah.
Do you feel that Coulter and I are intimidating because we have beards?
You guys are so intimidating. I'm so scared you're gonna go chop down a tree, or.
Yes. Well, you should be. Yes, I've done it many times.
I don't know. You got to see it. It's all over.
Okay.
You guys, but it seemed like they were
Pay
fighting.
attention, guys out there, folks out there. Trouble in Paradise in Houston.
Yeah,
James Harden and Russell Westport
heard it here
not getting
first.
together. Not friends.
Not friends. Maybe frenemies. That's all I got. I'm sorry. There's really nothing happening in sports right now.
I thought this was a good, strong ending.
Having in sports, all the World Series and all the football and basketball, all the sports are happening. Every sport,
like the 1-2 week stretch that all four major sports are actually active.
It seemed like there was absolutely no information about sports right now.
Thank you, Carolyn.
I'm sorry. I'll do better next week. I'll do better when there's less happening in sports.
Yes. Do better when there's less going on.
There was just no gossip because there's actually
TMZ
games.
stuff.
That's
Yeah,
exactly
right. The Chick Who Doesn't Know Sports brought to us by Missoula Winery and Event Center. Coulter, even though it's getting to be fall and headed even towards winter, Missoula Winery and Event Center is still a great place for you to have all of your events, holiday parties, anything you got going on. How you go out there.
That's right. The tasting room is closed, but it doesn't mean it's actually closed. You can't just stop in, but you can still schedule tasting and go taste a variety of Tattoo Girl wines. All you have to do is call the venue coordinator. And also, if you need a place to host any sort of party, whether it's a birthday party, a graduation party, Christmas party, great, beautiful, spacious area, and they'll take care of you with all sorts of delicious wines to taste, and you can even have music out there. There's indoor, there's outdoor. It's a great place. Located at 5646 West Harrier Drive, Suite B in Missoula, just right across the street from Big Sky Brewing out there towards the airport. Give them a call today, 406-830-3296. That's 830-3296.
Hour 1 in the books, hour 2 straight ahead. Mike Dugar, 12 for the 12s. We talk Seahawks football next. Alpine Touch has been part of the fabric of Montana for more than 60 years. Decades ago, Russell Street started selling his touch of magic in whitefish. Years later, Alpine Touch's all-purpose seasoning remains a favorite. It's tailgating season, and there's no better way to spice up your grill before a Grizz game than with Alpine Touch. Go to alpinetouch.com now and use the checkout code ESPN10 for a 10% discount on your order. Alpine Touch is here to keep your mouth watering all football season. Alpine Touch, Montana's special spice.
This is Mike Nugent with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Berkshire Hathaway provides Western Montana with full-time real estate professionals for you whenever you need us. Our reputation as the state's most knowledgeable and available real estate group has helped build unmatched trust in the Garden City and statewide. If you have been thinking of making a real estate move in the short or long term, give me a call. No pressure, no expectations. Just professional opinions and service at whatever pace you are comfortable with. Give me, Mike Nugent, a call today, 531-1802. And remember, every question is good to ask.
In Western Montana, we know shopping local matters, and you may think you'd pay more for the quality and customer service that comes with it, but not at Selway Armory. Selway Armory is locally owned with knowledgeable specialists that can answer your questions. In addition to the expertise, though, Selway Armory also has a bigger selection and lower prices than the box stores. When you're in the market for firearms and accessories, save money with the experts at Selway Armory. Selway Armory, 2825 Stockyard Road, Unit E6, and online at selwayarmory.com.
Katie O'Keefe's has been a neighborhood favorite in the corner of the Stevens Center for years. But if you haven't been into Katie's lately, come on in and make sure to turn left. The downstairs bar is completely remodeled with one of the biggest, best spaces anywhere in Missoula to watch games, play games, and hang out with all your friends. Katie O'Keefe's is your horse racing simulcast headquarters in Missoula. Come into Katie's and turn left for cribbage, darts, pool, and much, much more. Katie O'Keefe's, where the cocktails are always cold and the people are always friendly.
Hi, this is Michael Legg, Artistic Director at Montana Repertory Theater. Next at the Rep is Love That Dog, a play for young audiences. Jack's teacher won't stop giving the class poetry assignments, but Jack hates poetry. Every time he tries to write a poem, his brain feels empty. But an assignment to write about Jack's dog changes everything. Love That Dog is suitable for all ages and runs November 1st and 2nd. Get your tickets at montanarep.com.
Have you been hurt or disabled? Are you missing time from work and not sure what to do? I'm attorney Chris Helmer, and Clark Fork Law Offices in Missoula is here to help. Our team specializes in worker compensation, personal injury, and Social Security disability. We fight for the benefits you deserve. Call Clark Fork Law at 728-0168 for a free consultation or visit clarkforklaw.com. Again, 728-0168.
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula. ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Hi, how are you? Good evening. Welcome to your weekend. It is Tutel Nuanez. Here's some sports news for you. After a year off, the Grizzlies renew their rivalry with Eastern Washington tomorrow. The number 10 Grizzlies host the Eagles look to bounce back from a lopsided loss at Sacramento State last week. Eastern lost to Sac earlier this month in similar fashion. The Grizzlies and Eagles are both 2-1 in Big Sky Conference play, but Montana is 5-2 overall, while EWU has already lost 4 games in 7 outings. Eastern Washington is led by All-American candidate Eric Barrier, while Montana's senior All-American candidate Dalton Snead is doubtful, meaning Cam Humphrey will make his first start under center for the Grizz if Snead can't go. Kickoff from Washington Grizzly at noon tomorrow.
Montana State hits the road to Grand Forks for the final Big Sky game between MSU and the University of North Dakota. Next season, UND officially joins the Missouri Valley Football Conference. The Fighting Hawks are 3-0 at the Alerus Center this season, a stretch that includes wins over number 24, Sam Houston State, and number 12, UC Davis, 11 a.m., the kickoff time for that game.
In prep action, Missoula Hellgate looks to bolster its playoff resume against the number 1 team in the state. The Knights play at Butte High tonight. Sentinel hosts Kalispell Glacier as the Spartans are the number 3 team in Class A, and they try to keep Butte with Butte and Billings West. Big Sky has the week off. Helena and Great Falls both have crosstown matchups.
This ESPN Sports Center is presented by Clark Fork Law.
Welcome. Hour number 2. It is Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy, online at kurtzpolaris.com. If you missed anything in the first hour, listen on the podcast. Podcast available wherever you get your podcasts. Search the Tutel Nuanez podcast and listen to it there. Thanks to the Wingate by Wyndham Hotel. Also, search out the FCS Speculators podcast we got out. It's a betting podcast, and it's going to be good for you all the way through till tomorrow, so you better listen to it right now. And we've enjoyed doing that, so hopefully you can enjoy that as well. Some great guests on there, and obviously talking about all the Big Sky games and the North Dakota State, South Dakota State game in Brookings, where College Game Day is located for the big show tomorrow. If you would like to call, 329-1899 is the phone number. 329-1899 the phone number. All guests join us via the Rankage Brothers RV phone line. And in a day where we like to do giveaways, especially on a Friday, no better time than the present to give something away right now. How about a 6-pack and a sandwich from our friends over at the Warden's Market? You give us a call right now, 329-1899, the phone number, 329-1899. You get yourself a 6-pack of whatever kind of beer you want. They'll help you out. They'll show you around. They are the experts after all. And we know how great the sandwiches are down at Warden's Market. 6-pack and a sandwich on a Friday giveaway from us to you from Warden's. 329-1899. Do it right now. You are welcome, okay? You're welcome. We go now to the Rankage Brothers RV phone line. We welcome in our good buddy Mike Dugar. 12 for the 12s, boys and girls. We'll do 12 minutes with him on the Seattle Seahawks, who are visiting the Atlanta Falcons this week. The Hawks obviously coming off a pretty tough loss, 30-16 to the Baltimore Ravens. But I guess if you need a game to bounce back right now, the Atlanta Falcons are the team to play. And we'll talk a lot about the Seahawks, but briefly, Mike, let's talk about the Falcons because they're 1-6, and they look awful right now, and they may or may not even have Matt Ryan quarterbacking for them on Sunday.
Yeah, and what's weird about the Falcons is, like, their defense is bad, and, like, their head coach is not only a defensive guy, he's a defensive coordinator.
Right.
And their defense is just god awful, man. Like, they're getting roasted by everyone. Their offense will score, like, 30 points, and they'll still lose. I think that's happened, like, 2 or 3 times already this season. I think their only win is over the Eagles, and now if you look at the Eagles' secondary over the course of the season, you see why, you know, they were able to get carved up, and also Carson Wentz might not be very good. Yeah, they're a problem mostly because their defense is terrible. But at the end of the day, their offense is still like, you know, they can put up 30. I think Matt Ryan will play. Obviously, they have guys like Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, Devontae Freeman. Those are all elite, like, skill position players, you know, with some decent guys in the O-line, but they've been put in a lot of bad spots, you know, having to pass block a ton just because the defense will get them down by, like, 10 or 15. It's like, all right, cool, now we got to huck it. But, yeah, like you mentioned, if there's any team to bounce back from a loss from, it's either, like, Miami's number 1, Washington's probably 2, and then Atlanta is probably 3. So the Seahawks are in a good spot to get another win.
It's so interesting because I agree with you. Those 3 teams are definitely the 3 teams to bounce back with. But
since he's in there somewhere, too.
Since he's in there somewhere, too. But it's crazy to think, though, the Dolphins have been spiraling down and are assuming, I mean, you assume they're almost to rock bottom. If they're not, I don't know what is. But same thing with the Redskins. Redskins have just been an awfully run organization for 2 decades. But Atlanta was really good recently. So I just think it's so fascinating. How did they get to this point? But I think it also just shows the ebbs and flows of the NFL. So, I mean, what do you think of just that element of the league, Mike? Just the fact that one season you can be in the Super Bowl, 2 years removed from that, you can be the Atlanta Falcons right now.
I mean, there's 2 things I think about. One is that the Seahawks organization is very well run. Pete Carroll is a very good coach, and he's, even if the X's and O's stuff gets a little questionable, the maintaining the focus, the cultural stuff, like all that stuff that necessarily doesn't manifest itself on a stat sheet or wins and losses, it doesn't seem very tangible. You can tell that over time it separates itself from the other teams. You know, like, look at the Panthers after they went to the Super Bowl. You know, look at the Broncos after winning it. Look at the Falcons after being there. Look at Philly now after winning it. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw Orlando Scandrick's basically like, yeah, those dudes are a mess. And Malcolm Jenkins just like, man, screw you. Like, you look at the Philly after winning the Super Bowl. And, yeah, this is all teams in the last, like, few years. So part of that is because in the NFC, there's just whatever the league is trying to accomplish in terms of parity, it's only happening in the NFC. Like, it's basically just the Patriots versus some NFC teams every year. Like, that is just no joke. I think the last, like, 3 years it's been that. Like, it looks like it's going to be that again, right? Like, if it was Patriots-Niners at the end of the year, no one would be very shocked, or Patriots-Saints, which I think it's going to be. So there's that part. The parity is only happening in one part, and the other part is that, yeah, whatever the Seahawks are doing, well, not whatever. I've written about what they're doing. But what Pete Carroll has going was kind of like a self-sustaining cycle of, like, belief in the goal into that, you know, final blade of grass. So all those cliches he uses, you know, always compete, you know, about finishing, being all about the ball, like how the quarterback kind of reemphasizes all of those things on the field. Like, that stuff works, man. Like, the Seahawks never stink. They barely ever get blown out. They never stink. They lost the Super Bowl and then made the playoffs that very next year, and then made the playoffs the year after that, missed it, and then made the playoffs the year after that. You know, they're never really out of whack, and that's rare in the NFC, as you can see. Like, even the Saints have had, you know, rough years. Packers too. The Seahawks are, like, the only team that really has it.
Mike Dugard joining us as he does every Friday. Give you 12 for the 12s. He covers the Seattle Seahawks for The Athletic. You can find him on Twitter at Mike Dugard. And, Mike, let's talk about the Seahawks more specifically right now. And I want to talk about the offensive line a little bit because they are banged up right now. A couple of guys who, whether Dwayne Brown, George Font, both limited. Jermaine Ifedi did not practice yesterday. So this is a unit that has been much improved, obviously, from a couple of years ago, but also is going through it right now with guys being available. Where are we at with the offensive line heading into the weekend?
Man, like, if they use the distinction of questionable on the injury report, but it is true to every letter of the word this week. No idea what happened to Jermaine Ifedi.
Right.
I'm pretty sure Pete Carroll will shed some light on it, or he won't. It depends on what mood he's in on a Friday afternoon. But no idea what happened there, how severe it is. No idea if George Fant is going to have to sub in for Jermaine or sub in for Dwayne. If that happens, what happens to DeMarco? Does he sub in for Dwayne or sub in for Jermaine? And then, okay, DJ Fluker's back, so he takes his right guard spot back. Okay, but wait. Then if George is healthy and Dwayne's healthy, does JaMarco play still? There's just so much stuff going on there. The good news is the Falcons D-line is back. So it may not matter who plays, but at the same time, I'm very skeptical of when there's battle lines out there and there's backups, because it only takes one play in this league, and it's your season's in the toilet unless you have Teddy Bridgewater. And the Seahawks, last time I checked, don't have Teddy Bridgewater. So I'll be looking real hard at the O-line this week because it's scary, man. Everything really is just riding on Russ being perfect. You look at the games, that they've lost. It's required if there is some mistake for Russ to somehow make up for it, throw for a bunch of yards, and move everything and protect the ball really well. And when that stuff doesn't happen, when he's not next to perfect, they lose. And he was next to perfect, and they still almost lost to the Rams. And so, yeah, the O-line stuff is I usually try to make people not worry so much, but that's kind of something to worry about, especially if you're missing Dwayne and Jermaine, against the Falcons.
I know one of the talking points throughout the season for the Seahawks has been bolstering the pass rush. When will Ziggy Ansah and Jadeveon Clowney be able to truly be 100% to do that? I know Clowney's made some plays, but what have you thought of those guys' progress, and do they still need to come along for Seattle to be adequate in that area?
Yeah, they definitely need to be much, much better. It's weird because they're doing everything but rush the passer, right? I think they both might have a pass defense. Obviously, Clowney has a pick six. They both have fumbles forced and fumbles recovered, I believe. Just everything but, what we expect them to do. It's weird. I think they have one sack each. Shil Kapadia, one of our national guys, The Athletic, was he writes a column every week where he picks, against the spread, or, he makes his picks every week. His stat on the Seahawks, he picked the Seahawks, but one of the things he mentioned was through 7 weeks, the Seahawks have produced a sack or a quarterback hit on just 10.9% of opponents' pass plays. That's the worst in the NFL. Good gracious, that is just atrocious for a team that has, talented defensive linemen. So I don't know what it is. I don't know if something just needs to click. Maybe they just need some adversity or something on the road to get it going. Maybe they need a rah-rah speech from Jay Reed. I don't know. But somebody needs to light some fire in them. I know last year against the Green Bay Packers when they weren't performing well, Clint Hurt, I think he threw a projector at a wall and broke it. So perhaps they need to break something in
there
Atlanta
you go.
to get the pass rush
yes,
going.
Ruin the electronic equipment. That will ignite any pass rush. I think that's proven for sure. Mike Dugard joining us, covers the Seahawks for The Athletic. Mike, one thing that you can say about Seahawks teams, even under Pete Carroll, is that occasionally, they will travel to the East Coast and not get off the plane. They have put up some stickers, especially first halves of some games when they're traveling to that Eastern time zone. Is there any worry of that rearing its head again here against Atlanta?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It wouldn't surprise me even if they end up winning by 20, that their first 3 drives are 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out.
Right.
No lie. That's just what they do, look at how great they eventually looked at, some good examples. Pittsburgh, the bad start at Cleveland. Even last year, I don't think their start at Carolina was great. Maybe it was. I can't remember. But, they struggled. But they did that at home, too. Look at the Vikings last year at Monday Night Football, and they fumbled in the first play. I think Chris Carson fumbled. It's just so weird, these slow starts. I think there was, one drive last year where they went down and got a touchdown on the opening drive. Which is just, and it ended some ridiculous streak of games too. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if they come out, stink, and then just blow the Falcons out by 20.
let's get to that right now. I mean, we are hanging, it seems to me. I mean, the Seahawks, the loss last week, I think exposed some things about Seattle. I think it also showed some things about Lamar Jackson. By the way, I didn't even ask you. He's fast, huh? That Lamar Jackson, he can scoot a little bit, huh?
Man, I'm in Atlanta right now, and I think the next Michael Vick is number 8 over there in Baltimore.
No
that dude
doubt.
He has a different gear. He's so shifty. I think he's a little shiftier than Mike Vick, in that, like, Michael Vick was like a really good running back, where it's like Lamar has those same traits, and also the shiftiness of like a Doug Baldwin, where he can just stop on a dime and move like laterally in just ways that we don't usually see dudes, playing quarterback be able to move. So yeah, no, you want to talk about things to expose? He exposed that they can't stop Lamar Jackson.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
It's the worst thing in the world to be exposed because no one can. But like, yeah, it looked bad last week.
The only quarterback who might be faster than Lamar Jackson, of course, is Matt Ryan with a sprained ankle. He's very quick too. Here's my assessment, though. Everybody's picking the Seahawks to win this game. I'm sure you are. Coulter and I certainly are. But that has, it seems to be more to do, really, with how bad Atlanta has been than it does about, the Seahawks, who I think still have some questions. And, again, the 2 winning teams that they've played, they've lost those games. They're not playing a winning team this week, so you go, okay, Seattle probably wins, but this is the game on the schedule. What do you got this Sunday happening?
I think they win by double digits, probably 29-16. I would say something like that. Yeah, I think it's part of what you said. The Falcons are bad. Also, the Seahawks are good. The Seahawks are good. How good, we'd have to debate for hours and hours and hours. But they are a good team.
Yeah.
Right? Beating the teams you're supposed to beat is a prerequisite for being good. So they are a good team. Are they a great team? Probably not. I think there's only one great team in the NFC, and I think it's New Orleans. So, yeah, they're not great, but the combination of, like, Russell Wilson and a really, really good passing offense, which the Seahawks still do have, even though they weren't great against the Ravens, the combination of that and the Falcons, whose coach may not be employed, Monday morning. So it's both of those things making me pick the Seahawks to win by a couple touchdowns.
Mike Dugar, he covers the Seattle Seahawks for The Athletic. You can find him on Twitter at Mike Dugar. He joins us every Friday, 12 for the 12s. In the books once again. Mike, as always, appreciated. Enjoy the game. Enjoy Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Should be nice.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm enjoying the stadium, the city, the game, all of it, man. I love it. Thank you for having me.
Be coming off a loss and going to Atlanta, one would think, particularly this week. Of course, the games that you're really supposed to win, sometimes they come with the most amount of stress. So we'll see how the Seattle is able to fare on Sunday. Again, that game right here on ESPN Radio for you. We are the official Seahawks affiliate of Western Montana. 9 a.m. pregame show, kickoff at 11, and obviously a full postgame show, locker room comments, press conferences, etc. there. We'll take a quick break. On the other side, games against the spread. We got 5 of them, 40. We took your input. We picked some of the big ones this weekend. We will give you our takes on the NFL weekend right after this. Hey, cleaning your gutter is not fun, okay? Don't do it. You could get injured, and even if you get out of it unscathed, you're still going to waste a lot of time and probably not do a great job, okay? Go to MissoulaGutterCleaning.com, MissoulaGutterCleaning.com. Get an estimate right now, and when the job is done, they're going to give you a present. What do you think about that? $20 gift card to your favorite brewery or coffee shop, MissoulaGutterCleaning.com. Don't walk on the roof. Don't go up the ladder. Don't fall off either of them. Let them do the work. Get your time back. Get your weekend back. Enjoy football, and let your gutters get cleaned by them, MissoulaGutterCleaning.com. Alpine Touch has been part of the fabric of Montana for more than 60 years. Decades ago, Russell Street started selling his touch of magic in whitefish. Years later, Alpine Touch's all-purpose seasoning remains a favorite. It's tailgating season, and there's no better way to spice up your grill before a Grizz game than with Alpine Touch. Go to alpinetouch.com now and use the checkout code ESPN10 for a 10% discount on your order. Alpine Touch is here to keep your mouth watering all football season. Alpine Touch, Montana's special spice.
Do you know what's at stake after a car accident? Not only will you have to deal with pushy insurance companies, auto repair shops, endless doctor's appointments, and dozens of unforeseen problems, but also your normal day-to-day life. I'm Coulter here with Catherine from the Advocates Injury Attorneys, and she knows how hard this can be.
That's right. And with all of that, it can seem tempting to take the quick settlement that the insurance company is offering. But I can tell you from experience that it is not going to be a fair amount. I see it all the time where someone has settled with the insurance company and months later realizes that they still have pain from the accident. And now they're having to pay those bills out of their pocket. I don't want that to happen to anyone.
So what should our listeners do, Catherine?
Give us a call and discuss your situation with an attorney. The call is free and we'll gladly talk about your situation with you. If you have a case that we can help with, you will owe us nothing out of pocket. We actually make the insurance company pay for us to help you.
There you have it. Call the Advocates at 406-640-4444 or go online, MontanaAdvocates.com. You deserve the Advocates on your side.
Jayco and Rangish Brothers end of the year clearance event is going on now. Our entire lot is on sale, so if you've been waiting for a smoking hot deal on fifth wheels, campers, toy haulers, and motorhomes, there is no better time to buy than now. Save big on a Jayco J-Flight Bunkhouse SLX with payments as low as $99 per month OAC. Or get huge savings on a 2019 Jayco Eagle fifth wheel, starting at only $28,750. Don't miss our final sales event of the year. Only where a handshake means something. Rangish Brothers RV Center.
We combine quality ingredients with home-style recipes to create the Montana Club's fall comfort food menu. Savor our tender boneless beef short rib or caramelized brandy apple pork shank. Dig into our classic savory chicken pot pie or fall for our zesty skillet lasagna. Top things off with our creamy pumpkin skillet a la mode. Scratch-made comfort food that's as real as it gets. Served 11:30 to close at the Montana Club on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
No matter how far you may go, there's always one just down the road. Town Pump, who pump it up, pump it up.
Quench your thirst at Town Pump. Pepsi and Mountain Dew 1 liters are buy 2, get 1 free. Plus Aquafina 1 liter water 2 for $2.50. Whether you're hungry, thirsty, or need a quick pick-me-up, you can find what you're looking for at your Town Pump, right down the road.
Town Pump, right down the road. Pump it up, oh yeah.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Good afternoon, Ryan Tutel, Colton Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Sports Center. After a year off, the Grizzlies renew their rivalry with Eastern Washington tomorrow. The number 10 Grizz host the Eagles and look back to bounce back from a lopsided loss at Sacramento State last week. Eastern lost in similar fashion at Sac State earlier this month. The Grizzlies and Eagles are both 2-1 in Big Sky Conference play, but Montana is 5-2 overall. EWU has already lost 4 games in 7 outings. Eastern Washington is led by All-American quarterback Eric Berrier. Montana's senior All-American candidate Dalton Snead is doubtful, meaning Cam Humphrey will play his first start under center if Snead can't go. Kickoff at noon from Washington Grizzly.
Montana State hits the road to Grand Forks, North Dakota for the final Big Sky game between MSU and North Dakota, University of North Dakota. Next season, UND officially joins the Missouri Valley Football Conference. The Fighting Hawks 3-0 at the Alaris Center this season, a stretch that includes wins over number 24 Sam Houston State and number 12 UC Davis.
In prep action, Missoula Hellgate looks to bolster its playoff resume against the number 1 team in the state. The Knights play at Butte High on Friday night. Missoula Sentinel hosts Kalispell Glacier as the Spartans, the number 3 team in Class AA, try to keep pace with Butte and Billings West. Big Sky has the week off. Helena and Great Falls, they have crosstown matchups this evening. Also, World Series, Game 3 tonight on ESPN Radio. Zach Greinke versus Anibal Sanchez from D.C. Just over 30 minutes from first pitch of Game 3 on ESPN Radio. Let's go. It's Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television. Hi, how we doing? Great to be with you. Thanks for hanging out with us. We're broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy, online at kurtzpolaris.com. Hey, Coulter, by the way, we still have not given the word of the day. We will give the word of the day before the end of the show. You text it in. I'll give you the number, 200-8184, 406-200-8184. You text in the word of the day. You will be entered to win a keg and kegerator from Great Burn Brewery and Fred's Appliance, respectively. So stick around for that. But it is time, Coulter, to do our picks against the spread. We do this every Friday. It's thanks to Katie O'Keefe's, our friend down there at friends at Katie O'Keefe's, setting this up for us. And Coulter, 5 NFL games against the spread from this weekend. We'll do some regional stuff and some big game stuff. We start with the Denver Broncos at Indianapolis. It's in the early window on CBS television. The Broncos, a 5-point underdog at the Indianapolis Colts. What do you think about this football game?
Well, the Broncos suffered just seemingly endless. I mean, a month long worth of close losses.
Right.
And they broke through and won a couple close games against the Chargers and the Titans, but I don't know if either of those teams are very good.
And they got hammered.
Hammered by the Chiefs.
A game they had finally gotten into a spot where there was a big game for them, and they got rolled up by Kansas City.
Yeah. So Denver, I mean, I think we're starting to get confirmation of what we maybe didn't want to believe early, just because I think that the Broncos have a lot of talent on defense, and they're just not functioning on offense. I mean, if you blitz and or pressure Joe Flacco, he's just been bad. I mean, he's been one of the worst in the league. He doesn't look like a veteran quarterback. He looks like a rookie quarterback, and that sort of regression, I think, is concerning. And then when you look at the Colts have been really good. They've run 4 out of their last 5. They beat the Texans last week, the Chiefs the week before that. So the undertold story of the Colts is the offensive line. The offensive line is really good. That has then helped them operate. And Jacoby Brissett is playing at a pretty darn high level. I mean, he's playing a lot better than I think a lot of people expected him to play. So I think the spread's about right. I would have said Indy as a 7-point favorite, and I would pick Indy to win by 7 if it got up to that number. So I'm going to take Indianapolis to cover -5.
Yeah, it's interesting because Indy's been 2 impressive wins over the Chiefs and Texans. I think that win over the Chiefs is maybe one of the most impressive victories I've seen this season by anybody in the NFL. The way they held that prolific Chiefs offense when Pat Mahomes was still rolling to 13 points. They lost, though, to the Raiders and Chargers. I mean, those are the 2 losses they have to 2. The Raiders maybe at best okay, and the Chargers just bad.
Yeah.
And I realize that was the first game of the season, but you get the good wins, that's great, but the bad losses are also not good. I think Denver's got a puncher's chance in this football game, but I do like Indy to win it. I think, though, Denver keeps it close, and I will take the Denver Broncos to cover the 5-point spread. I think after what happened last week, they need to sort of rally a little bit. And again, I don't think anybody's blowing anybody out, so 5 points becomes a bigger number than if it was going to be a real high-scoring game. So I'll take Denver to cover the +5.
I mean, Indianapolis, they've won their games by 2, 3, 6, and 7 points. So they haven't been any better than a touchdown, better than anybody else. They are at home. So, I mean, I don't know. It's a really good number, I think.
Yep, I agree. The Seattle Seahawks at Atlanta. We talked, obviously, just now with Mike Dugar about this. The Seahawks, a 7-point favorite in Atlanta. This is really weird to me, man, because I feel like this is a little bit of a trap game for Seattle in the following respect. They got to travel, as we talked about, but also I don't think people appreciate really how banged up they are on the offensive line. I mean, if Ifedi and Font can't go, they're in trouble on the offensive line. And Atlanta's got a bad defensive line. At some point, it doesn't matter if you got nobody to play on the offensive line for you. That said, I mean, Atlanta has just been terrible, man. And especially, I mean, they haven't been awful offense. In fact, they've been pretty good offensively, but they've been so bad defensively. And it just feels like a team that just can't really rally right now. So I'll take Seattle, especially in a game that they need to win. I know that Seattle, quote-unquote, only plays close games, but they lost by 14 last week. Let's say they win by 14 this week, so I'll take them and lay the 7.
I mean, the defensive line is the least of Atlanta's problems, honestly. Their defensive line, I mean, Grady Jarrett and Vic Beasley during the 2016 season were both excellent players. I mean, first of all, what happened to Vic Beasley? I mean, he was 15.5 sacks in 2016, the year Atlanta went to the Super Bowl. He's got 11
a lifetime ago.
He's got 11 sacks total since then.
Yeah.
But to me, the symbiotic relationship, they can't cover anybody. Their secondary is what sucks. And that's why those guys aren't producing at the level. I mean, they've just been getting picked apart in the defensive secondary when you're going against Russell Wilson, who's going to be out for blood after a disappointing loss to the Ravens at home last week. I know there's this narrative that you and Mike Dugar talked about when the Seahawks go across the country to the Eastern time zone. They haven't played well from time to time. The Falcons suck. And Russell Wilson's going to be hungry to get back on track. I think that the Seahawks are going to win this thing going away.
Okay. The Cleveland Browns at the New England Patriots. The Patriots 7-0, the Browns 2-4. The Patriots are a favorite. Stunner. 11 points, the number on this one, Coulter. The 11 points for the New England Patriots.
Honestly, I'm not going to ever say anything about the Patriots besides that they're just going to cover the spread and roll from here on out, because after watching them against the Jets, like I said, I like to just take the egg and crack it squarely on my forehead so it gets all over my face. I thought that, the Jets are terrible. That was a 17-point spread, and I thought that the Jets would be able to at least fight and lose by 2 touchdowns, and they couldn't even do that. The Patriots, they were just toying with them. They were just like putting them on a string, and here we go. We're just going to shut you out. The Patriots' defense is seriously unreal.
It's unreal.
They have the best secondary in the league. Mm-hmm. We're talking about
the best defense in the league.
They are absolutely the best defense in the league, but we talk about all the big-name guys that yap their mouths all the time. There's always been that guy who wears the crown of the best shutdown corner in the league, whether it was Deion Sanders up through Charles Woodson, through Darrelle Revis. And those guys, and Jalen Ramsey's probably that guy right now, but those guys always tell you that. But make no mistake, Stephon Gilmore is the best corner in the league. He is. He's the best cover corner in the league, and they have the best secondary in the NFL. One of the best secondaries I've seen in the league in a long time. And then you splice in the other personnel. Dante Hightower, Jamie Collins, one of the best linebacker duos in the entire NFL. They have so many good players, and oh, by the way, they have the best defensive coach in the history of football.
It does seem like the players on the field, the matchup is a somewhat interesting one. What is not interesting in terms of a matchup is the coaching matchup. Freddie Kitchens and him trying to figure it out against Bill Belichick, I think, is a bit of a lost cause. So I got the Patriots winning this thing and covering the 11 points at home against the Cleveland Browns, who just simply haven't turned the corner. And I don't know if they will turn the corner this season. Philadelphia at Buffalo, Coulter. The Eagles, a road underdog in this game, 1.5 points. I've been on Philly this whole season. I think they are, good. I like Carson Wentz and so forth and so on. I am ready to. I'm close to ready to just bail and be done with the Philadelphia Eagles for this year. They are not playing good football. They're not stopping anybody. They're not really scoring. I thought, at least offensively, that with the return of Carson Wentz, that they would be better than they've been, and they just haven't been. Buffalo also, by the way, not a great team, but they've been good. They're good defensively in particular at home. But this is, to me, all about the Philadelphia Eagles and what they haven't been. They certainly, I think, seem to me to have the talent to do it, but they haven't done it, and they keep not doing it. So I'm going to take the Buffalo Bills at home, tough place to play in Western New York, to win this football game and win it by at least 2 and cover the 1.5 points.
Yeah, the Eagles, they've had some injuries, particularly to Jason Peters, their left tackle. But they also have all the makings of what is and what can become just a dysfunctional and toxic team. Alshon Jeffries and Nelson Aguilar are fighting with reporters over reports that those guys can't catch the ball when they have struggled to catch the ball. So whenever you're going back at the media, that signals disgruntled. It's the whole story of the locker room not buying into Wentz last year, and everybody came to his defense and said that's just not true. But a lot of those guys that came to the defense are not on the team anymore, and so maybe that part is true. Regardless, if you're talking about it, it's a distraction.
Yeah.
Orlando Skandrick after the game last week was like, this locker room's fine. We're fine. We get along. When you're going out of your way to address it, to me, it just reeks of not being okay. And you just wonder, there's certain elements in the league where when a coach has been successful, but he doesn't have the pedigree or the long-term resume to have job security, and then all of a sudden the scuttle starts mounting. Doug Peterson was so great and led them all the way to the Super Bowl. but then has been very average since then, and people have figured out their offense and they figured out their schemes. So where are we at with the Eagles? Where are we at with Doug Peterson? As soon as someone starts talking about that guy's on the hot seat, I mean, we're about to watch it burn down in Atlanta. We're about to watch that whole thing burn down because his seat is, Dan Quinn's seat is on fire, and it ain't going to get better. And whenever that happens in the middle of the year, that's when the dysfunction just gets rampant. And I just think that's what's exactly happening with Philly. They've just looked really bad the last couple weeks. They looked terrible against the Vikings. Vikings killed them, and so did the Packers.
And so did the Cowboys.
And so did the Cowboys,
week.
right.
But when Skandrick was released now this week, and he had plenty to say about what isn't happening and the guys who aren't playing well and the relationships that don't exist or whatever. And again, note the source, right? As soon as once a guy gets cut from a team in the middle of a season, probably he's not too happy about it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So, okay, that's fine. But again, regardless of why, until I see it on the field, I don't know what to say about the Philadelphia Eagles. They're not getting it done. And Buffalo's been better than I thought that they would be, and has shown that they're a decent team, And so I think I'll just take them. I'm just going to take the team that's going better than the other team right now. That's all this is about. This isn't about personnel or matchups or anything else. That's the only thing it's about to me.
I think the Bills are a little bit better than decent. I know that their wins have been a little bit left some to be desired. I mean, you beat the Jets, the Giants, the Bengals, the Titans, and the Dolphins. Those are no real good teams in there. The Titans is the best of the bunch, and that ain't saying much.
Yep.
They're still 5-1. Personnel-wise, I think the Bills have one of the best defenses in the league. They're just very average on offense. Frank Gore continues to defy expectations. How is this guy still a workhorse running back? 10 million carries into his career. I mean, don't look down, but Frank Gore is fourth in the league history in rushing yards.
He has 2,000 more rushing yards than Adrian Peterson.
Think of that.
I mean, it's remarkable.
He's one of 4 guys in NFL history to rush for 15,000 yards.
Incredible.
It's incredible. I think that though you gloss over the Bills and you say, well, they have a worn out old running back, but he is old, but he's not worn out yet.
Well, and Devin Singletary also is a brand new running back, and who knows? If he can get it rolling, okay.
So I just think I think the Bills are sort of mediocre on offense, but they've been good on offense at home. I got the Bills as well.
Okay. Last game, Sunday Night Football, the Green Bay Packers at the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes officially ruled out of this football game for Kansas City, which makes this a much easier pick for me. The Chiefs, a 4-point home underdog, which you would not expect, but obviously Patrick Mahomes being out changed the complexion of this game dramatically.
Is that spread since he's been hurt or since he's been ruled out?
I believe it is.
Okay.
Yeah. It is. So, yeah, it is officially 4, still at 4. The Green Bay Packers, man, here's what I'll say about Green Bay. They have gotten better basically each week. They have looked better and better each week. Now, that's not going to continue just in perpetuity, but the point is I think that Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers are getting on the same page, and their defense was actually playing better earlier in this season, but it is still playing well. And Kansas City has struggled a little bit recently, and now without Patrick Mahomes, that changes everything for the Chiefs. So I'm taking the Green Bay Packers to win this game in Arrowhead and cover the 4-point spread. Obviously, this number would be different if Patrick Mahomes would be there, and if Patrick Mahomes was there and healthy, I think probably the outcome of this game is different, especially in Arrowhead. But with the way Green Bay is going right now, I don't know. I think Devontae Adams is still out of this game, but that really hasn't mattered. Aaron Jones has been playing outstanding football. The offensive line has been setting it up for him. And obviously, when you got Aaron Rodgers back there, he's going to make some throws that nobody else is making, and it doesn't matter who it is that's there. Officially, Adams doubtful, I'm told. So I will take the Green Bay Packers to win this game against the significantly hamstrung Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday and win by 5.
I mean, Chiefs are banged up on both sides of the ball. I mean, they're banged up on defense too. I think Frank Clark's going to be out of this game. Chris Jones out of this game, so they're missing some defensive linemen as well. And to me, I've been ragging on Aaron Rodgers for his body language and his bad attitude for the last year and however many games until last week. Year and 6 games. The last 22 games as a Packer. Aaron Rodgers has been driving me crazy. Last week, what did he do? He didn't throw a fit on the sidelines. He wasn't being a crybaby. He smiled in the locker room after the game.
Maybe because LaFleur accounted for 6 touchdowns.
I understand, but there has been a definitive. I think that he's had a bad attitude, but I also think that there's been a definitive and lingering break in communication between the guys that are calling the plays and the guy who's running the plays, whether it was Mike McCarthy or Matt LaFleur. For whatever reason, they seem to get on the same page last week. They've been winning in spite of maybe not being in perfect synchronicity, but they got in synchronicity last week. And like you said, 6 total touchdowns later, and Aaron Rodgers looked like a happy guy for the first time in a long time. So if he can maintain that and they can maintain that, look out. Because all of a sudden now they're one of the best teams in the league.
I have been completely impressed with Matt LaFleur, man. And look, man, you know that I'm not just saying this now because I was as skeptical as anyone about hiring the next whatever, Sean McVay, the next young offensive guy. But I am watching play development throughout the course of a football game where they are setting them up and Aaron Rodgers can just knock them down. I mean, when they are running the fullback out into the flat and you look up and there's not anybody inside of 30 yards, it doesn't matter that he runs a 5.9 40. There's nobody there. He's going to, pick up a first down and big chunk plays 20% of the football field, and that is on the coach who's making that happen. It's not just up to Aaron Rodgers. I mean, people go, well, if Aaron Rodgers can make all these plays, well, that's great and wonderful. But guess what? The coach should make some plays. The coach should make most of the plays, in fact. And then when you're in a pinch, you got 12 back there to pull through in moments where, it's even or even stacked against you, when the other coach wins. But if you got some plays and some schemes that are coming together that are throwing defenses off to start, they are in trouble, man, in huge trouble, because Aaron Rodgers isn't just a great quarterback in terms of throwing the football, accuracy, all that. He's a great football mind. He knows what he's looking at, that maybe he doesn't act the right way all the time, and rather than trying to make a play, just throws the football into the ground out of spite for the play caller, which we have seen relentlessly the past several years. But the reason that he is angry is because he knows I would do a better job. He's the one who's sitting back there. He goes, if it was up to me, then we wouldn't be doing this thing that we're doing here. So now you got a guy who at least initially has some innovation to it, and it looks really good. Again, all this stuff, how great was Doug Peterson the first year in Philadelphia, and where are we at with Doug Peterson and his offense now? Not nearly as good. So this is, how long a shelf life this has, but at least for now it is working, and is working in the favor of Green Bay. But again, to me, all of this is about Pat Mahomes being out. I mean, which I hate, man. Can you imagine Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers going? Which to me, now I know that Russell Wilson has been playing probably at a higher level than anybody this season and all that. These would be the 2 best quarterbacks in the NFL right now playing against each other if it was Patrick Mahomes going against Aaron Rodgers.
So that's TB12, right?
No, including TB12.
King sits on his throne until he's dethroned.
No.
Tom Brady's in a different realm.
We're not talking about careers. We're talking about who's the best right now. It is not Tom Brady.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers has always been and always will be better at the athletic portion of playing quarterback than Tom Brady. Doesn't mean he's better. Watch the Patriots go undefeated when Tom Brady's 41. How would that go over?
Do you think Aaron Rodgers would not go undefeated if he was the New England Patriots quarterback?
I don't, because I think that him and Bill Belichick would mash heads so hard.
That's a flawed conception that you've got. It's just flawed.
It's not.
It has nothing. I mean, it is not about Aaron Rodgers. Or it's not about Tom Brady. It's about Aaron Rodgers. He's better than Tom Brady is. So is Patrick Mahomes. So is Russell Wilson. And that's not saying that Tom Brady isn't still miraculous, but he is an old man and he can't really throw the football. He's a great decision maker and he's great in his system.
Save this for the mashup next week, David.
He's got the best defense.
Can't really throw the football. Can't wait.
Okay.
Hope the Packers play the Patriots in the Super Bowl. I hope Tom Brady wins by 5 touchdowns.
Those are our picks against the spread. They're brought to us by our friends at Katie O'Keefe. Should we keep giving people stuff, Coulter? Do we want to do this?
Absolutely.
Okay, then. You want to go have yourself some fun? Football game tomorrow? Go to Katie O'Keefe's and Coulter. You're going to hook them up.
This is a little tough because I know that our doors are closed as of 5 on Fridays, but we'll have it for you next week for sure. And if you're going to the Grizz game right now, tell David that, and I'll bring the gift certificate to you. Just come see us at our pregame show right by the walking bridge.
But what are you giving them?
We're giving them a $25 bar tab to Katie O'Keefe's.
Hello.
Only stipulation here is that you got to use the whole thing while you are at the bar.
That's right. It's a one-shot deal.
329-1899. Give us a call right now. First caller, you're going to get a $25 bar tab to Katie O'Keefe's, 2100 Stevens Avenue in the Stevens Center. Sweet place. If you want to go watch the game, if you don't have tickets to the Grizz game, you want to go watch it, great. Head on down. If you want a great place to watch NFL football, even better. If you want a place to watch Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football, they got great deals down there as well. So give us a call right now, 329-1899. $25 bar tab from Katie O'Keefe's, where the drinks are always cold, the people are always friendly.
2-minute mashup, World Series, and the word of the day next.
Hi there, it's Les Schwab Tires. You know, we've been helping keep folks safe on the road around here since 1952. That's why you can save up to $152 on a set of 4 select light truck and SUV tires during our fall tire sale. So swing by or book an appointment at leschwab.com. Les Schwab Tires, doing the right thing since 1952. Limited time offer while supplies last. Discount depends on tire size and type. Cannot be combined with other offers. Details at leschwab.com.
On Russell, across from the fairgrounds.
Have you been hurt or disabled? Are you missing time from work and not sure what to do? I'm attorney Chris Helmer, and Clark Fork Law Offices in Missoula is here to help. Our team specializes in worker compensation, personal injury, and Social Security disability. We fight for the benefits you deserve. Call Clark Fork Law at 728-0168 for a free consultation or visit clarkforklaw.com. Again, 728-0168.
The big skies are open. Go wild with Opportunity Reward Checking. Go ahead, jump, dance, shout. Opportunity Reward Checking will make you do that. Go wild when you get your 1% cash back on qualified debit card purchases. It all starts with an Opportunity Reward Checking account from Opportunity Bank. Visit a branch today to get started. Then go wild and spend your 1% cash back however you want. Go wild with Reward Checking from Opportunity Bank. Some restrictions may apply. Member FDIC.
It's a crisp fall morning. Time for your daily pumpkin soy latte. As you wait for your coffee, you get a buzz. No, it's not your boss wanting extra whipped cream, but your ADT video doorbell. It's a package. Your new latte machine. No more $5 PSLs. Barista service. Brought to you by ADT. Designing and installing a smart home just for you. Backed by best-in-class 24/7 protection. Learn more at ADT.com. ADT. Real protection. License information available at ADT.com.
Help protect our community from prescription drug misuse, abuse, and overdose on National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day. This Saturday, you can turn in your unused or expired medications at the Grizz game. Just look for the DEA booth at the parking lot near the entrance of the stadium. If you can't make it to the game, go to MissoulaCounty.us for a list of Dropbox locations in Missoula. This event is brought to you by Curry Health Center, Save Kids Missoula at Foundation for Community Health, and the Prescription Drug Task Force, a coalition of Missoula City County Health Department.
It's time for the second annual Flippin' Fun Glow Run, a fundraiser for the Ravalli County Gymnastics Booster Club. Don your neon and lace up those running shoes for a glowing 5K and Kids Mile Fun Run at the Corvallis High School on Friday, November 1st. The run starts at dusk and the course is lit with glow sticks. Competitors are given glow sticks to wear. There'll be prizes to win, and all proceeds support gymnasts' competition fees. Sign up at eventbrite.com before or on October 23rd to get an event t-shirt.
Tutel and Nuanez on 102.9 ESPN Radio for Missoula.
Welcome back, boys and girls. You ready for your weekend? Let's go. Friday. Good to be with you on Tutel and Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television. Thanks for being here. We're broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris Studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy, online at kurtzpolaris.com. If you missed anything in the show, listen on the podcast. Podcast available on the TuneIn Radio app, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Get the Tutel and Nuanez podcast. It's available thanks to the Wingate by Wyndham Hotel. Also check out the FCS Speculators podcast while you're at it. That is out. The newest episode available for your enjoyment there. Boys and girls, it's time for the word of the day. We're giving away a keg and a kegerator. How great is that? Yeah, I know. Quite great. Fred's Appliance, a kegerator. It's a fridge with a handle for your keg. That's why they call it a kegerator. And the beer to go with it from Great Burn Brewing. How outstanding is that? 200-8184 is the phone number. 200-8184 is the phone number. The word of the day today, rivalry. Rivalry. Grizzlies, Eagles, Eastern Washington, and Montana have either been first or second in the Big Sky Conference 29 of the last 31 seasons. And remarkable. And they've been going toe-to-toe and head-to-head and all of that stuff. This is a rivalry game. Rivalry is the word of the day to 200-8184. Every Friday, about this time, we have ourselves a little fun. David's been hard at work in the back putting together the 2-minute mashup, a 2-minute review of the week that was. Here we go. Enjoy this week's Tutel and Nuanez 2-minute mashup.
Oh, you're amazing. Let's talk some sports.
Hello, Montana. They got hammered. The Montana Grizzlies did, the number 5 team in the nation, by Sacramento State.
You can't panic.
Kevin Thompson thoroughly outplayed Dalton Sneed.
His eyes are like the size of saucers because he's so locked in and focused.
Last weekend down in Sacramento, that was looked like the Super Bowl. They had a roof. They'd had confetti coming out of it.
Losses bring weaknesses to the forefront.
This is a huge game for Montana.
Well, I think everybody treats us like a rivalry game.
Greg Bell joins us every Monday.
Nobody on the field was fast enough to catch up to Lamar Jackson. Thomas was woofing to teammates and gesturing to the sideline. Not with a middle finger this time.
He is a meandering river.
Every game in this league should be played between a 12 and a 2 o'clock kickoff. We're ready to go at 6:30 every morning. Coming off the bye week, getting that taste out of our mouth from that Sacramento State, who evidently is a pretty good football team. I hope that I do get fined.
Bombs.
I mean, the Class A playoffs are setting up to be just epic this year.
He'd have a whole new genre, though, because you have cowboy hats. Cam Humphrey is really good.
Whoa! What is going on here?
His arm talent is comparable to Matt Struck at Idaho State.
I just don't know if he can hang.
If I knew the answer to that, I'd probably be doing something else.
He would have probably chosen Forrest.
I find him lame.
I don't understand the point. So what?
I only see what I want.
He's trying to make it fun.
He's short.
That's a good point.
That's a fact.
Tom Miller covering North Dakota for the Grand Forks Herald with us here this afternoon.
Like half of UND's defense will be a game time decision.
Jake Mayer joining us. He's the quarterback of the UC Davis Aggies.
This opponent we have coming into our house is very worthy. We're trying to create an environment that's fun, that has a lot of energy, is electric. You know, we're really excited for the last month here. If we can keep this thing rolling and keep fans and students excited, then UC Davis is going to be a spot to be.
Colton, do you feel like, just alone and lonely over there, sitting there, no need for you?
I'm impervious to all of that.
I hate conversations with no points.
Am I on?
Nobody understands. This is like Tutellian. Sam Herder covers the FCS for Hero Sports.
Yeah, we're all friends here, right? All these ESPN guys coming to town. Where are they staying? Where are they putting them?
We have a significant, 60 and over demographic. Shout out to all of you.
My eyes are bleeding by 2 o'clock in the morning.
Get over it.
You get rid of your family, we could.
That's my goal. Now, see, that is where, that's not real. That's not actually my goal. That was in reference to something else, but that's why it's a matchup. Great work, David. Excellent work. Enjoyed that very much. That was a lot of fun. That will be available for you to listen to throughout the week. Make that into a little promo and have that air. Why are you videoing me?
I just do what NBA Graph tells me to.
Okay. What is NBA
he says
Graph.
That's what his buddies call him. So it's NBA Graph.
Okay.
In the lab, cooking it up.
Yeah, I guess so.
He's like a DJ and a point guard all at once.
As we leave you here in about 90 seconds, we send you out to the nation's capital for the first ever World Series game in Washington, D.C. of this franchise. Now, I know the Senators, I think in 1933 were there or whatever, but from the Expos that became the Nationals, the first ever one, it's going to be rocking in D.C. as these two teams slug it out in Game 3. Zach Greinke going for the Houston Astros, and talk about some pressure on old Zach Greinke to get it done against Anibal Sanchez down 0-2. Why are you laughing at me?
Because when my brother was a little kid, he was obsessed with the Montreal Expos.
Oh, I know. He loved them. Vlad and the whole
I asked
thing.
him who are you going for in the World Series. He said the Expos. Duh.
Tomorrow, we will be on the air at 10:30 a.m. Get you ready with the pregame show. Get you ready for Grizzlies Eastern Washington. Tune in then. Come by and see us over at the tailgate party adjacent to the walking bridge. Hang out, get yourself a drink, get some food, throw a mini football around, have a lot of fun. And then, of course, we'll be on the air after the football game as well with the post-game show. And then Game 4 of the World Series Saturday, Sunday, 9 a.m. Seattle Seahawks, Atlanta Falcons pregame show, 11 o'clock kickoff. And if there is a Game 5, we'll have it for you on ESPN Radio Sunday evening. Okay, so jam-packed for you on ESPN here. Thanks for being with us all week. We appreciate each and every one of you. We think you're great. Enjoy World Series Game 3 from the nation's capital right now.
We ran into Jessica White, and a little moonshine got us right from.
In Western Montana, we know shopping local matters, and you may think you'd pay more for the quality and customer service that comes with it, but not at Selway Armory. Selway Armory is locally owned with knowledgeable specialists that can answer your questions. In addition to the expertise, though, Selway Armory also has a bigger selection and lower prices than the box stores. When you're in the market for firearms and accessories, save money with the experts at Selway Armory. Selway Armory, 2825 Stockyard Road, Unit E6, and online at selwayarmory.com.
No matter how far you may go, there's always one just down the road. Town Pump, ooh, pump it up, pump it up.
Burning the candle at both ends? Stop by Town Pump. They've got the energy you need. Right now, Red Bull 8.4 ounces are only $3 for $5. Plus, pick up Hum Kombucha for only $2.99. Town Pump, serving our community since 1953.
Town Pump, right down the road, pump it up, oh yeah.
When your football team scores, sometimes you want to celebrate with a shot. Other times, your team might be getting whipped. You need a beer. At Katie O'Keefe's, you don't have to choose. Every Monday and Thursday from 6 to 10 p.m., come watch the NFL and enjoy a premium shot and a beer for just $6. That's right, a shot and a beer for $6. Located in the Stevens Center, Katie O'Keefe's is also offering $2 pounder cans of Rainier, PBR, and Busch Light. Monday and Thursday night football at Katie O'Keefe's, where the drinks are always cold and the people are always friendly.
This is Mike Nugent with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Berkshire Hathaway provides Western Montana with full-time real estate professionals for you whenever you need us. Our reputation as the state's most knowledgeable and available real estate group has helped build unmatched trust in the Garden City and statewide. If you have been thinking of making a real estate move in the short or long term, give me a call. No pressure, no expectations. Just professional opinions and service at whatever pace you are comfortable with. Give me, Mike Nugent, a call today, 531-1802. And remember, every question is good to ask.
The Polaris factory authorized clearance is here. The world's best-selling off-road lineup is priced to move with financing as low as 3.99% and rebates up to $3,500. Live life wide open in a high-performance RZR. Tackle anything from mountains to mud holes on a legendary Sportsman ATV. Get more done with a hard-working Ranger or take on any task or trail in a versatile Polaris General. The best deals of the year are happening now. See Polaris.com or your Polaris dealer for rebates up to $3,500 and financing as low as 3.99% APR for 36 months during the Polaris factory authorized clearance. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula and Highway 83 in Sealy. Kurtz Polaris is now showcasing all of the new 2020 Polaris off-road vehicles to be the first to get a great deal on brand new state-of-the-art Polaris vehicles at Kurtz Polaris. Online at kurtzpolaris.com. Rebates valid in U.S. through 10/31/19 on new 2015 through 2019 vehicles. Financing offer valid on 2015s through 2020s, subject to credit approval. Offers vary by model. See dealer for details. Always wear a helmet. Never drink and ride.
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula.